zip ending Hey, बाबु डिस्टर्ब नगर के उज्जवल सर एकचोटि हजुरको इमेल चेक गर्नुस् न
रविन जी ओ रविन जी रविन जी
सर
के छ खबर
युजर बनाउनु पर्ने रहेछ। म युजर बनाएर तपाईँलाई इमेल गर्दै आएँ, सेयर गर्नुहोस् त सर इमेल नेसनल कलेजको।
त्यसको लागि युजर बन्नु पर्ने
अनि अरूलाई चाहिँ सेयर नहुने रहेछ, जतिजना युजर छन् तिनीहरूलाई सेयर हुने रहेछ कि।
अब त युजर बन्नलाई के गर्नुपर्छ? मैले तपाईँको इमेल त देखेको थिएँ मैले।
युजरको त्यहाँ क्लिक गरेर पुग्छु होला, मलाई पनि ठ्याक्कै थाहा भएन। क्लिक गरेर हेर्नुहोस् त
फेरि अस्ति जस्तै गडबड होला फेरि यार।
नहोला भयो भने हामीसँग टाइम छ नि त, अझै आधी घन्टा त।
ल म धमाधम उ गरिहाल्छु है त।
एउटा चाहिँ
तपाईँले जुम अकाउन्ट इन्भिटेसन भनेर पठाउनु भएको छ, अप्रुभ द रिक्वेस्ट गरेँ मैले है। अप्रुभ द रिक्वेस्ट गरेँ। आई एक्नोलेज एन्ड स्विच गर्ने हो कि साइन इन टु योर अकाउन्ट गर्ने हो?
एक्नोलेज स्विच गर्नुहोस् न।
आई एक्नोलेज एन्ड स्विच हैन?
त्यति गरे हुन्छ। त्यसमा तपाईँको त्यो भर्चुअल एकाउन्ट तपाईँ युज गर्न पाउनुहुन्छ।
अब त्यसपछि साइन इन टु प्रोफाइल पेज भनेर आयो।
अब तपाईँको जुन इमेलमा आयो त्यो इमेल युज गर्नुहोस् न, नेसनल कलेज युज गर्नुहोस्, भइहाल्छ।
अनि इमेल एड्रेस र पासवर्डमा के राख्ने?
त्यो केही चाहिँदैन, तपाईँको इमेल एड्रेस हो
भनेको यही मेरो नेसनल कलेजकै
गुगलकै इमेल एड्रेस हो।
अन्त पासवर्ड पनि त्यही राखे भयो हैन?
गुगलकै युज गर्नुहोस्, फेरि त्यो के आयो थाहा भएन मलाई, गुगलकै युज गर्नुहोस्।
हैन ठिकै छ, म नेसनल कलेजकै युज गर्छु। खै भएन त, इनकरेक्ट भन्छ त यार।
तपाईँले यस्तो गर्नुहोस्, गुगलको लोगोमा क्लिक गर्नु पर्यो होला नि त सर।
ए गुगलको लोगो तलपट्टि छ है?
त्यसमा त हाम्रो लाइसेन्स छैन नि त।
हो ल पक्र्नुहोस्। अब नेसनल कलेज
युज गरेर युज गर्नुहोस्, केही फरक पर्दैन तपाईँको त। एकाउन्ट त झन् यो युज गरेर भइहाल्यो नि।
ल आयो तपाईँको उ आयो, मिटिङ अपकमिङ प्रिभियस मिटिङ टेम्प्लेट्स भनेर आयो। अब म यो उ सेयर गरौँ, तपाईँसँग स्क्रिन सेयर गरौँ म?
हुन्छ ल
स्क्रिन सेयर गरौँ, म देखाउँ। तपाईँ उ गर्नुहोस् त, त्यो इनेबल गराउनुहोस् त मलाई स्क्रिन सेयरको।
भयो नि त त्यो।
भयो। ल के आयो यार यो?
ठिक छ, त्यही त आएको।
त्यही
त आएको हो। आउन चाहिँ
त्यो उ आयो कि व्हाइट बोर्ड आयो त्यो। अब आयो हैन?
ठिकै भयो नि। अब हजुरले के गर्नु पर्यो भनेपछि जुन
कहाँ जाउँ भन्नुहोस् त? अपकमिङ प्रिभियस मिटिङ टेम्प्लेट्स। अब कहाँ जाउँ म?
अब अपकमिङमा जानुहोस् न।
अपकमिङमा
केही जानु परेन। हजुरलाई हजुर मेम्बर भइसक्नु भयो भने तपाईँको जुन अहिले तपाईँ युज भएको छ नि, एकचोटि अफ गरेर अन गर्नुहोस् न, साइन आउट गरेर साइन इन गर्नुहोस् न।
अब केलाई? यो उसलाई अहिलेको यो उसलाई के अरे यो जुमबाट म साइन आउट गर्नु अहिले?
गर्नुहोस् न, ट्राई गर्नुहोस् न। भयो नै छोड्दिनुहोस् त्यसपछि।
ल लिभ मिटिङ गर्ने मैले?
म यहाँ हेर्छु मेम्बर तपाईँ
गर्ने।
इन मिटिङ गर्नुहोस्।
ल लिभ मिटिङ गरे। ल
म चाहिँ फेरि ट्राई गर्छु। सरले आइसक्नु भएको रहेछ। मेम्बर बेसिक ठिक छ।
रविन जी
भिडियो खोल्नुहोस् त।
भिडियो ए ल अब
भएन। मेम्बर चाहिँ यस्तो आएन।
भएन है?
भएन, तपाईँ मेम्बर चाहिँ भइसक्नु भएको छ
अँ,
तर पनि आएन।
ल ठिकै छ, केही छैन। सुन्नु न, त्यो अर्को तपाईँले अब यसो गरौँ, अब यहाँ डिस्प्ले गरिराख्दाखेरि नि म के स्क्रिन सेयर गरिदिउँ अब?
तपाईँलाई यो पठाइदिनु क्या हो है एउटा ब्यानर?
यो नपठाउनुहोस्, म अर्को नै राख्छु।
हुन्छ हुन्छ, तपाईँ स्क्रिन सेयर गरेर राख्नुहोस् न।
ल स्क्रिन सेयर गर्छु म है। फेरि के आयो यो? व्हाइट बोर्ड पो आयो त।
भर्खर त भएको थियो होइन सर? भर्खर भएको थियो। हुन्छ,
भर्खर त भएको हो र त्यो।
अघि अघि भयो नि।
मेरो स्क्रिन सेयर भएको छ, हेर्नुहोस् त।
भएको छ
होइन, ल पक्नुहोस् है, म यो ब्यानर सेयर गरिदिन्छु कि। अस्ति बनाउनु भएको थियो नि तपाईँले। अहिले ब्यानर सेयर भएको छ?
अहिले खाली आएको छ, के पनि आएको छैन। तपाईँको अघिकै त्यो मिनिमाइज गरेको जस्तो त्यस्तै आएको छ, ब्यानर सेयर भएको छैन।
ब्यानर सेयर भएको छैन? ल पक्नुहोस्, म फेरि सेयर गर्छु। ल अब चाहिँ सेयर हुन्छ। ल अब सेयर भयो?
अब सेयरिङ आयो आयो भयो।
ठिक ठिक छ, यही राखिराखौँ।
अब सेयर भयो सर। अब लाइभ जाने बेलामा चाहिँ तपाईँको यो म एउटा कुरा देखाउँछु, हेर्नुहोस् है त। ए ल, कसरी देखाउँ तपाईँलाई? मैले कसरी राखेको छु भनेपछि म भन्छु है त।
ल
मैले टाइटलमा चाहिँ इनाग्रेसन सेसन अफ नेसनल सेमिनार अन भनेर हाम्रो टाइटल राखेको छु।
केमा केमा?
यो अब लाइभ जानेको टाइटल उसमा।
ए ठिक छ ठिक छ।
अनि
त्यो तपाईँको
त्यसपछि
सेड्युल छ नि, त्यो सेड्युलबाट कपी गर्दै राखिदिनु भए हुन्छ कि।
त्यही नै गरेको। अनि तपाईँको जुम मिटिङ डिस्क्रिप्सन अन फेसबुकको ठाउँमा चाहिँ सेमिनार अन यो भनेर अर्गनाइज बाई नेसनल कलेज के सबै जुन छ नि सबै त्यही राखेको छु।
ठिक छ।
अनि डेट चाहिँ May 31, 2021 राखेको छु।
हुन्छ हुन्छ।
अब यो चाहिँ मैले गो लाइभ गर्ने बित्तिकै लाइभ भइहाल्छ। अब हजुरले सुरु गर्ने बेलामा मलाई
अहिले सुन्नु न, ठ्याक्क 9 बजे मैले बोल्न थालेपछि त्यसपछि तपाईँले लाइभ गर्नु होला है। म ठ्याक्क जब फर्मली सुरु गर्छु नि म।
होइन, हजुरले एकचोटि मलाई भन्नुपर्ने, अब हामी चाहिँ जानेछौँ भन्नुहोस्, त्यही अनुसार म गरिदिन्छु।
ल ठिक छ।
अनि त्यसपछि केही सेकेन्ड टाइम रोक्नुहोस् कि चुपचाप रोक्नुहोस्, किनकि मलाई टाइम हुँदैन त फेरि।
मैले भनेको कति बेरमा तपाईँ लाइभमा एयर गर्नुहुन्छ भन्नुहोस् त?
होइन, मैले क्लिक गर्ने बित्तिकै हुन्छ हुनु चाहिँ। तर तपाईँ एक दुई सेकेन्ड जति रोक्नुहोस् न, कमसेकम केही गरेर क्लिक नभए पनि त तपाईँ टाइम लाग्छ, ठ्याक्कै सुचार हुन्छ नि त। धेरै देर रोक्नु पर्दैन।
त्यसो म तपाईँलाई मेसेज पठाउँछु है त जुममा।
ए हुन्छ हुन्छ,
तपाईँलाई डाइरेक्ट मेसेज पठाउँछु म। तपाईँले हुन्छ भनेर रिप्लाई पनि गर्नु होला। त्यो तपाईँले हेर्नुभयो भएन मलाई थाहा हुँदैन।
होइन, त्यो पनि हो। जस्तो तपाईँले बोल्दाखेरि भन्नुहुन्छ नि, अब हामी चाहिँ सुरु गर्न लागेको छौँ मात्रै भन्नुहोस् न।
ल
अनि त्यसपछि तपाईँले अब सुरु गरिराख्नु गुड मर्निङ के मेरो सुरु हुन अगाडि एकछिन रोक्नुहोस्, अनि म क्लिक गरिहाल्छु। त्यसपछि गुड मर्निङ के भनेर चलाउनु त्यसपछि गर्नुहोस्। फर्मली सुरु गर्ने बेलामा मलाई यसो भन्नु न। त्यसपछि म लाइभ जान्छु। तपाईँलाई म को बनाएकै छैन, बनाइनँ है त। तपाईँले सेयर गर्नुभएको छ ब्यानर?
ब्यानर अहिले सेयर गरेछन्, अब गरिदिउँ?
गरिराख्दा हुन्छ नि सर।
ल ल
वेटिङ रुम डेल भनेको हो यो।
Sir, good morning. Mute ma हुनु दो रहेछ.
Good morning.
Good morning,
sir.
Megha. Oh, you have already joined.
I have already joined.
Because you are early.
Namaskar,
no?
namaskar.
You all,
Namaskar.
I mean, namaskar. Yeah, it's only 10 minutes left, right? Like 5 minutes left,
Yeah,
right, to start.
yes.
So I thought I should
You
just
met
join.
Mr. Ujjwal Upadhyay no, before?
Namaskar,
Namaste.
namaskar.
Yes.
Namaste, Megha.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Yeah,
So last
Mrs.
time
Madhav
we
Bhopani is
met.
the principal, and
Namaskar.
it's difficult to introduce everyone in Zoom. But then
Yeah.
Megha looks after us in the Adenauer Stiftung. She looks after now the SDGs.
Yeah, too many roles.
There are some people in the college, some students physically trying to come
Is it?
also.
Oh, that's very good.
And this banner we had already done, so it's looking a little crooked right now. But it's, for the previous one, we had already done the banner.
No problem, no problem. Yeah, I mean, at least we're having it. I'm very grateful for that. Like, seriously. Thank you so much.
So let's admit everybody, and then let's.
Okay,
Sure.
sure. So
Sure.
Because we are expecting some people from Berlin also, some people from Singapore, Bangladesh.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
Berlin, I think, will
admitting
be
everyone.
late. Berlin will be slightly
Altogether.
late, but I think they will come later. But yeah.
Berlin is right now what, 4 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I don't think they'll come for the morning session.
Late night in Berlin.
9. It is 5, sir.
Berlin is 5 o'clock. मेरो अलिकति यो च्याप्चुप देखियो.
होइन क्लियर छ सत्य देखिरहेछ.
के उपाय नै भयो नि त्यस्तो छ.
ठिक छ हैन यो राम्रो आइडिया हो यो. Mahesh sir, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
We'll have to start on time.
Okay, Christian is also coming. He's doing amazing work.
Hari sir, good morning.
Morning, sir.
त्यो अफ गर्नुपर्ने अडियो. Ujjalji will be expecting the resident coordinator of UNDP.
Yes, yes. I'm expecting her to participate.
Well, there was already information that she's participating, so I think she'll come exactly at 9 o'clock.
Okay. Yes.
Actually, we are all ahead of
Yes,
time.
I also believe so. Yes, exactly. Sarah, good morning.
I think all the students are afraid of you. All of them are in silent.
Okay, our deans are also recently admitted.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir.
Sagar sir, namaste.
Sagar sir, namaskar.
Sagar sir is in audio off.
Hello. हजुर सुन्नुहुन्छ मलाई?
Sagar sir, good morning.
Yes,
Guten Morgen.
yes. Good morning, sir.
Good. हजुर Nishal sir. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, sir.
Yes.
Mega Sagar sir used to, we share the same school. He was my senior at school. Of course, currently dean of the Kathmandu University, but he also used to teach me German language.
Okay.
I was a very bad student, but then he taught me German.
Good morning.
We used to have some fun times together, practicing our German together. Yeah.
So you're fluent in German.
Very
Well,
fluent. He's a teacher.
Okay, that's good. You can practice it.
I don't get as much chance to use that these days, but in those days, yes, I was quite engaged with it.
That's good. So
Thank you
how
for your
many
time.
yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for having this conference with us. Dr. Pandey, how many students are you expecting today?
Ujjalji, I think we are expecting what, 100 or
Well, we will have minimum 70 students participating, and in the inaugural session, and in the following sessions, at least 50 will be participating. And
Okay.
quite interestingly, we teach one course to our first year students. The title of the course is Development Innovations, and the students need to conduct seminar in this course. And last year they conducted physical seminar because that happened in February, couple of months before the lockdown happened. And this time they are planning to conduct seminar via online. So this is going to be a very nice learning activities. So based on the experience and knowledge they derive from this seminar, they are going to organize this kind of seminar exactly after a couple of months. So by the end of July.
Good morning to everyone. Madam sir.
Good morning. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Ujjalji.
Namaste, M sir. Namaste.
Megha ji, good morning. And Sagar ji also. I think
Morning.
meet each others, because I know about you.
Good morning, Mr. Ashley.
Good morning, Christian.
Media. Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good, good.
Very good.
Morning,
Good to see
Nisha.
you. Good to see you.
How are you?
I'm good. Sorry for the banner, which is a little crooked. This is we made it for the previous physical conference, but then it was not to be. But then I thought of using it.
Good recycling, Nisha. Absolutely.
Sagar sir, Christian, Mr. Ashley is our director at the Adenauer Stiftung Singapore office, and he's proper German.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
I'm thinking a lot about the soccer European Championship right now, so that's just to prove that I'm very German. It's still a few weeks away, but I'm already very excited.
Europe is much better now.
Yes, I mean, it's probably too early to celebrate, but for now, Europe is doing a little better, and everybody is reminded of last year's summer when things improved as well. So I think people are looking forward to a summer which is hopefully a little more free than what people experience during winter time. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, the waves are going up and down in different parts of the world. So I wouldn't say that Europe is out of the woods yet, but for now it looks good.
Yeah. Do we have Her Excellency, the resident coordinator of UNDP? She could have joined with other names also, because it's so difficult to find in 670 people, 80
Exactly.
people now.
So Nishal sir, is it possible to request her if she is already there?
Yeah, I'm just requesting. Your Excellency, are you there? I mean, she could have come from other names of a secretary or office
maybe.
secretary. We shall wait for her and then.
Okay, sure.
What about the gentleman from the Ministry of Education?
I think he is already here. Else
Oh.
I'm going to call him.
Good morning, sir. So 2 minutes we'll start. Tulsi sir, namaskar.
Namaskar. Good morning, namaste.
Namaste, Tulsi sir. Welcome.
Namaskar, namaskar.
Ajay, namaskar.
Just 2 minutes and then we'll enter. Hello. हुन्छ भइहाल्छ उहाँलाई त्यो एन्टर गर्न लागि नि त सुरु गर्न हामी
रविनजी
घरमा के उहाँको ना
रविनजी सुनिराख्नु भएको छ मेरो कुरा
सर भन्नु सर
अब अरूलाई एन्ट्री नदिनुस् है 88 पुगिसकेको छ हाम्रो युएन रेजिडेन्सी आएपछि मात्रै अरूलाई दिनु होला है 88 भइसकेको छ अब अरूलाई पर्खिनुस् अहिले
हजुरले गर्नुस् न म चिन्दिन फेरि
ल हुन्छ तपाई नगर्नुस् अब
उज्जवल निश्चल सर म्युट रहेछ हजुरको
Ujaji, we should start because I just got a call from UNDT Res Rep that there is a replacement. Okay. And Mr. Dharma is joining. He has already joined. Okay. And he will speak on her behalf. Okay. Because there is something urgent and she'll join later. Okay. So there's already somebody from UNDP.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nishal sir. And namaste and very, very warm welcome, everyone. So this is a finest and august gathering that we have this morning. And we are quite happy to welcome you all on behalf of National College. We have principal from National College and many students participating. And we are gathered in the Zoom platform. And the entire program will also be aired through live from our National College Facebook page. So if you are unable to join this program through Zoom, you can also view the entire program today and tomorrow via Facebook page, which is going to air this entire program live. So thank you. So with the permission of everyone, let me start this program. Namaste again and very, very warm welcome. And welcome to the National Seminar on Accelerating Progress and Equality in Education, organized jointly by National College, Center for South Asian Studies, and Konrad Adenauer Foundation, Germany. So I would like to especially welcome our speakers at the inaugural session, Mr. Madhav Prasad Neupani, Principal of National College. And we also have Dean, School of Arts, Kathmandu University, Professor Dr. Sagar Raj Sharma, and residential representative of UNDP Nepal, Her Excellency Ashiani Meda Gangoda Labe. But recently, we came to know that Mr. Dharma will be replacing her on behalf of United Nations Development Program. And we also have Joint Secretary at the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Mr. Tulsi Prasad Thapalia. Welcome, Tulsi sir. And Mr. Christian Ashley, Director of the Political Dialogue Asia Program of the CAS. Hello, Christian. So nice to see you after a long time. Last time we met in Dhaka and also in Kathmandu, I guess. And we also have Dr. Nishtanath Pandey, who is also director of CSAS and the main architect of this program. Thank you, Nishtal sir, for making this event happen today. And we will be having teachers and faculty from various schools and colleges who will be speaking on the issue of online learning today and tomorrow. So we will also be having K spaces where students will be able to talk freely about the experiences. So in order to begin the program, so let me request Mr. Madhav Prasad Neupane, Principal of National College, for his opening remarks. Please, Principal sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ujjalji. Namaste, good morning. Professor Dr. Sagar Raj Sharma, the Dean, School of Arts, Kathmandu University. UNDP representative, Dharma sir. Mr. Tulasi Thapalia, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Education. Mr. Christian Essel, Director, Political Dialogue Asia, KAS Singapore. Mrs. Megha Sharma, Program Manager, 2030 Agenda, Political Dialogue Asia, Singapore. Dr. Nishtanath Pandey, Director, CSAS. Session chairs, paper presenters, and participants. I would like to welcome you all to this session. Today, we are organizing a national seminar on accelerating progress and equality in education. This program has been organized jointly by National College, Kathmandu University, Center for South Asia Studies, CSAS, and Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, KAS. On behalf of the college, I would like to first thank Center for South Asian Studies and Dr. Nishtanath Pandey for partnering with us in this seminar. National College was established in 1996 with the vision to become a center for excellence in South Asia in terms of integration of knowledge, skills, and behavior through studies, research, and practical works. It focuses on the fields of social, economic, and development management for creating self-reliant peoples to form a developed society. National College at present has been offering 3 academic programs in association with Kathmandu University. These are Bachelor in Development Studies, started in 1999. The second program is Bachelor in Development Finance, started in 2006. And the third program is Bachelor of Social Sciences, started in 2013. Presently, we have a pool of more than 1,100 graduates, over 60 faculty, hundreds of associated experts, and more than 2 dozens of national and international collaborators. These collaborators are actively associated in student and faculty exchange, internship, research, and publication work. Students, faculty, and professionals are encouraged to actively engage in activities through regular research, work, project work, workshop, training, and such seminar. Equal access in education is a big challenge, and efforts are being made for better access from the government, private sector, non-governmental sectors, and international donors. At present, the education sector has been hard hit by the pandemic. In a limited number, the education has been carried forward in an online mode. In our one case, we had to start online modes of learning and evaluations at our college. It was a huge challenge. We had to start almost with zero background without prior training and proper setup. To a country like ours, with the vast majority of rural setting and poor connectivity, the challenge is more daunting. In these situations, we are organizing the National Seminar on Accelerating Progress and Equality in Education. We'll be having 2 days of interactive discussions with the faculty and students, with the experts and the practitioner on the issue of online learning. Based on this, we can have some way forward. Once again, I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal of National College, Mr. Madhav Prasad Neupane, sir. Now, in order to proceed with the program, I would like to request Professor Dr. Sagar Raj Sharma for his inaugural speech. Dr. Sagar Raj Sharma represents Kathmandu University and he is the dean there. Thank you.
That's a very warm Guten Morgen and Namaste to all of you. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers, especially the National College, the Center for South Asian Studies, Dr. Nishtanath Pandey, and the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. for organizing what I think is a very timely and opportune discussion that we're having on accelerating progress and equality in education. Thank you for giving me this space to say a few words. I'd like to perhaps focus on the equality aspect of this, the theme that you have chosen for this seminar. Distinguished panelists, I also thank you for taking out your time to join this effort in giving your inputs, but also providing your valuable suggestions, I'm sure, as to how we can proceed forward. But as I said, I think this is a very timely discussion that we're having, in that we are facing a huge, humongous challenge in terms of equality. We always were facing that, but this pandemic, as we all know, has perhaps made that challenge even more severe, even more pressing. You know, equality, or if you flip the coin, inequality is a multidimensional concept. It could be because of caste, it could be because of class, it could be in economic, it could be social, it could be cultural, it could be geography bounded, it could be, you know, because of lack of access to certain things, lack of access to opportunities. It could be because of the unfreedoms that all of us face in different ways, in different environments. And that is causing this inequality. We live in a world where world's richest 1% have more than twice as much the wealth of 6.9 billion in the world. Just imagine that. Just imagine what kind of inequality that must be. We live in a world where nearly half of the world's population is living in less than $5. 1 out of every 5 children are not allowed to go to school, even today as we speak. And women are, you know, earning 25% less than men, or having 50% less wealth than men. That is according to the Oxfam 2020 report. And we all can only imagine that this COVID-19 has exacerbated that situation. The 2021 Oxfam report will come out very soon in summer. And most likely the gap will have widened. And the inequality gap has widened not only in one aspect. It's poverty, it's economic, it's social, as I said, but also, and alarmingly so, in education. It has exposed what has been termed as the great education divide. We all know, we're all facing that as we speak. Many schools and colleges are forced to shut down. And many children are deprived of even a basic education now. And which is further fueled by the digital divide that already exists. As much as the IT technology has progressed and advanced in the recent years, the divide is still very real. And that has been felt because of this COVID-19. And I'm going to talk about that a bit more. We are witnessing series of disruptions, as we all know, because of COVID, the socioeconomic, cultural, structural, and even political disruptions as we are witnessing because of COVID-19. Different regimes at different places around the world are using COVID-19, the pandemic, for their own interests in their own ways. The contexts are different, of course, but we see that happening all over the world. And higher education too, it's not just basic education, higher education too has suffered very badly, and is as I said, facing unprecedented challenges. Many children, many students, many youths are facing disconnect because of the lack of technology that they have, or not adequate technology. And they are disengaged, therefore, from the education mainstream, and they are displaced. And Nepal, obviously, is no exception. We see that, we read about that, we hear about that, we are feeling that as an university. We also see that happening to our own students and staff and teachers. You know, the irony is ITC, this advancement in the technology, modern technology that we're witnessing, should have been able to bridge this divide, because that's why technology is. When you're not able to meet face to face, technology should have been able to fill that gap, and it is. But when we see, it's filling that gap mostly in urban and urban-centric places. The distance, the remote places are still very much, the marginalized spaces are still very much not connected, disconnected. So, and that because when we think about the student body, which, you know, ideally speaking, should represent all the geographic locations, different all the cultures, all the ethnicities, they come from different backgrounds, and that's why student is such a beautiful heterogeneous body that it is, now is suddenly finding itself divided again because of the lack of technology that they are able to use. So it is in that context, and I'm sure that's what this seminar, the discussions are going to be about in the next 2 days. What can be done? What can we do? Well, first of all, let me say what Kathmandu University has done very briefly in 2 lines. Immediately, when the lockdown began, the first lockdown, that is, last year, we immediately decided to go online, because we thought that we didn't want to disrupt our calendar. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's going to need a lot of investment, new investment and trainings, but it's worth doing it rather than break the calendar. And therefore we proceeded, we gave trainings to students, teachers, staff alike. And although we cannot claim it to be a perfect solution as yet, because we're still improving on that, we went ahead and we were able to successfully complete the calendar on time. And we're already in the 3rd semester of having gone online. We face our challenges, of course. There are challenges as to how to make the pedagogy more effective, the online pedagogy, that is. How do you evaluate online properly? How do you cater to more students? Especially because Kathmandu University, as proud as we all are of the university, the enrollment, the overall national enrollment is still very low compared to other universities. Obviously, Tribhuvan University is by far one of the largest, even in the world, for that matter. So Kathmandu University, the national enrollment is still very low. So how do we then perhaps take advantage of this online technology and reach out to a larger public? So, and how do we ensure effective pedagogy? How do you ensure that education, we are offering right kind of education? We're offering these, that we're not compromising on the education front when we go online. How do we ensure that? You know, these are the things that we ourselves have to learn and train ourselves, I think. Every institution is guided by its own documents, its own acts, its own policy documents. It's timely that National College, as a private institution affiliated to Kathmandu University, I think it's important that it thinks about how it can differentiate itself from other colleges in Nepal, which perhaps are even more resourceful than National College. how does national college, for example, and I'm going to talk about this particular college because I think that will be relevant to all of us and we can relate to that. How can it design new policies to adopt inclusive online education? Not only online, of course, inclusive education is broader than just online, but online is adding that much more challenge, as I said. Gender and IT, for example, how do you advance both gender inclusiveness as well as online inclusiveness? How can national college enhance its pedagogic support for remote learning, disadvantaged and marginalized spaces? Given the fact, and we have to admit, National College is a very urban-centric college. It's situated in the heart of Kathmandu, and it's and because of that, it has its own advantages, of course. But how do we then accept the challenge of having to go to more remote places? And I think there is a way we can do that. We need a clear-cut policy, of course. I mean, that's what the every college, Kathmandu University is doing that in collaboration, in consultation with all our affiliated colleges, of course. But National College can perhaps devise its own inclusive policy document with the team, and come up with an agenda, inclusive agenda. It can build online pedagogic system in collaboration with other institutions, and perhaps more importantly, strengthen distance learning, not just online learning. I'm differentiating online learning from distance learning. Both could be online, but distance learning is specifically reaching out to a different remote geographical location, as opposed to simple online learning, which could happen anywhere, even in a closed space. So how do you do that? And I think that's where the niche is now. With or without COVID, post-COVID is definitely going to be a different new normal. And if higher education wants to sustain, if higher education wants to build a different future, it also has to change. We cannot simply forget whatever we did during COVID and just move on in post-COVID as if nothing has happened. So we have to learn lessons from COVID and plan ourselves for a better and perhaps even more challenging future, because we don't know what's going to happen next. So we have to be prepared and learn from this crisis and try to turn this crisis into opportunity. So I'm sure the deliberations in the next 2 days will give us ample opportunity to discuss all these dimensions of new challenges and opportunities ahead. I wish a very successful seminar, and I'd like to thank the organizers once again for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sagar sir, the Dean of the School of Arts, Kathmandu University, for an excellent address as always. We always cherish whatever you explain and whatever you speak in front of us, basically highlighting about the constraints and challenges that we are facing in the field of education in particular, and how things becoming even more challenging for educational institution like ours. And also thanks for sharing the policies and strategies of Kathmandu University, which is going to be implemented in the near future. We are delighted. Thank you, Sagar sir, for your excellent remarks. So now it's time to introduce a new concept and initiatives about K spaces, and which will be done by Ms. Megha Sharma, Program Manager, 2030 Agenda, Political Dialogue Asia, CAS Singapore. Megha Sharma, we are eagerly waiting to listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ujjwal. A very warm welcome to honorable guests, teachers, and my dear students. We are very happy that the first national conference of our CAS spaces has been launched in Nepal with the cooperation of Dr. Pandey and National University in Nepal. We're very pleased to share with you about CAS spaces. The concept of CAS spaces came out because of the effects and the impact of the pandemic, we have seen that in more than 188 countries, students have stopped going to school, and there's a lot of students who are not being able to access education. So that this is where the concept of caste spaces came about, because we believe that we need to facilitate a dialogue where different stakeholders can come in and discuss the ways that we can go forward, and that we don't leave anyone behind, which is the main pledge of the Agenda 2030 goals. So caste spaces is an innovative program that will provide and facilitate a shared engagement space among political parties, citizenship movements, civil society organizations, technological companies, and other democratic actors like students, teachers, to come together and to discuss and engage in discussion on new technologies in providing education, blended learning, and inclusive education for all. The aim of caste spaces are to promote the collaboration and cooperation of various stakeholders in addressing the sustainable development goals and other societal aspirations, to build capacities of the various stakeholders through networking and skills upgrading. And lastly, to identify the common challenges being faced with different Asian countries in achieving the SDG goals, and to find a collaborative framework throughout in addressing the sustainable development goals and other societal aspirations. For us, the caste spaces will be having the format has been divided into two sections. For the first half, we'll be having national seminars across 11 countries. And after those and we'll be discussing the similar topics, because we believe that every country is facing similar problems. And I think through that, we can find common solutions, common ways to handle things. So after the national seminars in 11 countries, we'll be having a regional seminar where we'll be inviting representatives of each country to come together and together to provide to discuss and find a way how the region as a whole can go forward, and also not leave anyone behind. We are very happy that we could provide this dialogue forum and this platform, and really looking forward to the conference. Our director, Mr. Ashley, will be sharing more about our programs and how we have continued to do this. But I just want to say that thank you so much for this opportunity, and that we are looking forward to the day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Megha, and also thank you so much for coming with a very nice idea. And I'm sure this idea will be materialized soon, and we can collaborate in future as well if possible. Thank you, Megha Sarma, for sharing this highly innovative idea. Now I request Mr. Dharma Swarnakar from United Nations Development Program Kathmandu for your speech. Please, Dharma sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Udhavji. Chair of the program, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. I think I really feel privileged, UNDP feel privileged to be invited for this important and very timely discussions. Needless to mention that education is the foundation for human civilizations and socioeconomic development of any country. I think it's very important. And especially, it is very important topic given the current crisis we have, the COVID pandemic. Schools, children are out of schools for almost a year. So education is at stake. I think this is very, very good. And I also, appreciate the topic itself. Looking at the progress and also, looking at the equality in education. This is very important in our in our context as well. So talking about Nepal context. Right to education, as we all know, has been enshrined as the fundamental rights in our constitutions. Right, that indicates the importance that that Nepal as a country has given on education. A couple of points like it has guaranteed free education for all up to secondary level. And when it comes to poor and disadvantaged, for example, for poor and disabled, it has guaranteed free education up to even tertiary level, higher education level. I think this shows the importance of education in our context. And accordingly, I think in line with this spirit of the constitution, Nepal's development policies and plans have also emphasized on the development of education. Just to give an example, the current 5-year development plan, we call it 15th plan. Education is, for example, ensuring universal and quality education is one of the 8 strategies of the whole development plan. I think it shows the importance. And for a couple, just talking about a couple of targets, it aims to increase literacy rate 15 years and above from currently 58% to 95, and net enrollment rate at basic level from 93 to 99, and net enrollment rate at secondary level from 46 to 65. So these, there are concrete targets. These are achieved. These are supposed to be achieved by the end of the current development plan in the next 5 years. And these are all aligned with sustainable development goals. I'll come to that later on. So in terms of, accordingly, I think in terms of government, spending, the budget, the investment also, government has been also, spending sizable budget, I would say, on the education, though it is not up to the mark, up to the par. In different countries, I think there has been a debate that, government should spend at least 20% of its national budget on education. Now, currently, it's roughly 12% of national budget. But which is, I think, also good sign, I would say. And the most of the budget on education is spent, if you look at it, to ensure quality education or to ensure equality in education, through different scholarship schemes, incentive mechanism, and investment in poor areas or remote areas. I think our budget on education is very much oriented towards equality in education. So talking about sustainable development goals, as you all know, I think sustainable development goals are internationally agreed common development agenda of 21st century, and education is at the center of sustainable development goals. And Nepal has been also very much committed to achieve the sustainable development goals. So within that goal, so while other goals, out of the 17 goals, education in a way cuts across in all goals, but there is a dedicated goal in education, as a SDG 4, we call it, addresses and education. The goal 4, by title, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The title of this goal. It has 10 specific targets, focusing on quality, focusing on equality, focusing on life learning, different type of targets is there. So I think education has been the priority of sustainable development goals globally as well, and this is a priority of our national context, be it in constitution, be it in development plan. So as part of its commitment to SDG, just aligned with SDG, Nepal also has set ambitious targets on education goal. So for example, again, this citing some of the targets, it aims to achieve a net enrollment rate at primary level, to 99%, 99.5. It wants to achieve, 100% net enrollment rate, properly. Also, primary completion rate, again, 100%, 99.5. Gender parity in our primary and secondary education. Scholarship coverage from 38% to 42% for all students. And schools with access to internet and WASH facilities to 99%. These are targets, set, in Nepal's Sustainable Development Goals baseline report, which are supposed to be achieved by 2030. So we have now another, roughly 9 years to achieve that. So in terms of, achievements or progress till now, so you must have noticed that the National Planning Commission is the custodian of SDG, and that recently published a Sustainable Development Goal Progress Report. So UNDP has been closely working with National Planning Commission on integrating and promoting and internalizing a Sustainable Development Goal. So with UNDP's technical input, the progress report was prepared and was launched a few months ago. As per the report, if you look at it, so it says that education, on education, Nepal, the progress on education has been moderate. Nepal has moderate progress, and there is a need to do a lot, and there are a lot of challenges. Few challenges is basically ensuring accessible and inclusive quality education to all. Basically, that major challenge is to make school education accessible to out-of-school children. We have so many out-of-school children, mainly children from unprivileged and marginalized communities. So that is a big challenge, and to bring them in school, school environment, to ensure the equality in education. I think that's more important, and they are mostly in remote areas. I think people living in remote areas. That's one challenge. The second one is reducing school dropouts and increase retention rate. I think that's also, I mean, enrollment, Nepal attaining rates, and then reducing the dropouts is a challenge. So we need to really work on that. So the another is obviously the quality of education. My previous speaker also heard that. I think highlighted that part. Education has to be linked with with life learning, with practical knowledge, so that that knowledge can be used for individual development as well as the development of society. I think somewhere we have a challenge in terms of quality and addressing the current need in terms of learning. So that's also a challenge. The fourth one, I think the primary is in school infrastructure. I think also there is a need to improve the quality of the school infrastructure, both in terms of software meaning that we need to ensure the quality teachers, ensure the motivations and management of teachers, and also hardware, the school infrastructure that includes, access to different facilities, internet, WAS, even many schools in remote areas doesn't have drinking water facilities, the buildings, furniture, everything. I think these are big challenges that has been highlighted by the report and which are very practical as well. So accordingly, I think this with sustainable development goals also, Nepal did try to do the costing of how much does it cost to achieve 2030 targets, which is called SDG needs assessment, costing and financing strategy that National Planning Commission, obviously with UNDP's technical input, prepared that a couple of years ago in 2018. So that report says that Nepal requires roughly $19 billion per year to achieve 2030 targets in all goals, in all 17 goals. And out of that, education accounts for roughly 15% investment out of the total investment. So education requires 15% investment, which is in our term, which is roughly 306 billion per year investment in education to achieve 2030 target. So out of the total investment, the share of public is obviously in Nepal, I think, as per constitution also, government has to ensure the free education up to secondary level. So that's why, government soldiers significant share, which is 72% as indicated in the report, the costing report. The rest are roughly 17% is supposed to be invested, by private sector. Which is also important, actor in education in our context. So out of the private sector investment, which is basically projected like 791 billion in the next until 2030. Out of that, there has been estimate that 60%, there is a 60% financing gap already in education, especially from private sector. So private sector needs to also invest more. Obviously, for that, then government needs to create the environment, enabling environment, incentivizing private sector to invest more on those sector. The private sector also just want to highlight that private sector is also a very important player on education in terms of ensuring the quality, ensuring the equality as well. So the another aspects that I want to highlight here is that we all know after 2015 Constitution, Nepal has become a federal country. And local, we have three, governments, three level of governments: federal government, provincial government, local government, and all government has important role. And education cuts across, in all three level of government. And primarily, in terms of delivering primary and basic educations up to secondary level is local government, which has very important role. But we know that they were formed just 3 years ago. And there are challenges in terms of their capacity to deliver, their functions in terms of education. So the government needs to put extra effort to building their capacity so that the education they can play their role in terms of ensuring quality and equality and education. So that is also important part. Coming to the current context, let me just touch upon few points on COVID. COVID, I think, has been a big challenge. On education down for several months. I think maybe I hardly see, maybe in between, maybe 2-3 months they were open, but almost more than a year the schools have been closed. So children are out of schools. They're completely in many cases out of learnings. So I think there has been a report and assessment that almost 9 million children are completely out of the schools. And there has been a report from UNESCO because of the lockdown and extended closure. So even if lockdown was eased, schools were not open for next few months. So to address that, I fully understand. In many cases, schools and government also encourage that online learning, different online learning. But on the one hand, I think it's good that some of the children could get connected and have some learning opportunities. But that online and digital platforms or online classes has not been that effective, especially when it comes to low-income groups, because for that you need infrastructure, you need internet access, you need devices. So that has been a challenge. Again, there has been some assessment. In a way, this online learning in case of Nepal, in fact, has further widened the disparity in education between privileged group, between the people living in urban areas and between the people living in rural areas, or between people those who are well off, can afford internet or other infrastructure, and people who cannot can afford those. So in fact, there has been reports and studies that shows that this has further Nepal has already we know that has been a challenge in terms of equality in all sectors, and not only education, in all development outcomes, and particularly in education, be it enrollment, be it secondary level educations, be it tertiary level educations, be it education and technical sectors. So we have huge disparity in terms of geography. If we look at now currently by provinces, provinces like Sudur Paschim and Karnali and Province 2, this education, looking at education outcomes, they are far behind as compared to other provinces. And accordingly, also we have challenges in terms of gender disparity on educations. And also in case of Nepal, I think there is also social disparity in different groups, especially underprivileged group like Madhesis, some indigenous groups, and Dalits. They are lagging far behind the national level. So this disparity and this are also a challenge, and those, because of the COVID, in fact, those disparities has widened because of this, again, this infrastructure required to access online classes, to access digital platforms. So I think this has been a big challenge in the current context. So when we talk about policies and supports, I think this needs to be considered. So UNDP, finally, I think UNDP as UN agencies, we are also SDG, very committed to Sustainable Development Goals, and within UN agencies, UNDP is considered as integrator. So different UN agencies have different thematic specialization, but UNDP is there to bring all these specialization together and is supposed to play a role of integrator. So we are very committed to that, and hence we are committed to SDG, and education is naturally very important. It's very important part of that commitment to education. So we believe education is the foundation of any development, any prosperity, and civilization. For that also, SDG, I think we also need should not forget SDG's core principle. We call it leave no one behind. So when it talk about any development outcomes, so the leave no one behind is at the core of that framework. So on education also, I think that's why I'm also happy to see the topic, equality in education. I think we're very committed, and we look forward to, I think, UNDP, obviously within our mandate, we are ready to cooperate, partner, to take it forward. So finally, I wish all the success for this program. Thank you. I stop it here.
Thank you, Mr. Dharma Swarnakar, for your absolutely mesmerizing speech, and definitely contribution of UNDP to national level education, and also tying it up with sustainable development goals is always appreciable. So efforts of UNDP is really admirable in enhancing enrollment rate and also maintaining adult literacy rate in the country and ensuring quality, equality, and equity in education. So we National College, basically being finance, social science, and development based institution, policies and plans of UNDPs are always the part of our core curriculum. So thank you so much for saying a lot of things regarding the efforts that UNDP has been putting in terms of enhancing quality of education in our country, maintaining equality and equity. Thank you so much. Now it's time to request Dr. Tulsi Prasad Thapalia sir, representing Ministry of Education Nepal. So Dr. Tulsi Thapalia is Joint Secretary and who leads Planning Division of the Ministry of Education. Please, Tulsi sir, thank you.
Thank you, Ujwalji. Thank you very much. Distinguished speakers, Mr. Madhav Nopani, Principal, National College, Dean Professor Dr. Sagar Raj Sharma, Kathmandu University, Ms. Megha Sharma, Program Manager, CAS, Dr. Nishalnath Pandey, Director, CSAS, Mr. Dharma Swarnakar from UNDP, Mr. Christian Ekle, Director, KAS, and dear participants of this seminar. Namaste and good morning. I feel really honored to be part of this national seminar on accelerating progress and equality in education amongst the distinguished speakers. As we all know, the regular classroom instruction has been disrupted for almost a year now. Because of the pandemic, many of the teachers, students, and parents have lost their lives. We have not yet assessed the real learning loss caused by this pandemic, but it can be assumed that this is certainly huge. Also, because of this economic hardship faced by the families, there is a high risk that many of these students may drop from their study, as is the case of many other economic sectors. This is really a crisis situation to education sector. And like many other crisis situations, the most vulnerable groups are hit hard by the pandemic. So there is a challenge now to find appropriate strategies to recover the loss and address the inequity caused by the pandemic. The title of the seminar in this regard covers both of these issues. And so it is very much a timely initiative. Last year, during the first wave of the COVID-19, schools and colleges were closed. Final examination or the external examinations were postponed, and there was a risk of losing the whole academic year. This was something very, very new to our education system. And we were not adequately prepared to respond to that kind of situation. The government came up with some alternative arrangements for the continuity of learning. The arrangements included basically issuance of the guidelines and directives that define the roles of different institutions and stakeholders and mandated for alternative arrangements, number one. Second, development of instructional strategies, learning resources, both in the digital form and in the printed form. Third, mobilization of media for the continuity of learning. That included use of both online and offline learning, use of educational broadcasting in radio and television, and also use of the self-learning type of printed supplementary learning materials. Fourth, mobilization of teachers where possible to visit communities and support students in small groups in their learning. So we made all different efforts for the continuation of learning in that kind of situation where schools were no longer functioning as usual. Same was the case in most of the cases for the colleges as well. In absence of the regular teacher-student communications, technology-assisted instruction and self-study was the only mode that was viable at that point of time. And many factors come into play in the effectiveness of such kind of mode. For example, the maturity of the learners, not that easy for the school students. Access to the internet facility, as discussed earlier, very difficult in the remote areas. Availability of the other infrastructures and tools, for example, the laptops or other gadgets or other tools. Possibility for seek support and feedback from the teachers. Opportunity to collaborate with other colleagues, co-learners. So since many of these conditions are not well met, there is always a risk and challenge to ensure learning for all, particularly to those students from the disadvantaged background. With regard to the management of the higher education, the guidelines on alternative mode of learning issued by the University Grants Commission has made certain assumptions that may be relevant here to discuss in this forum. The assumptions include it should be considered as not as substitute, but only as complement to the regular mode of learning. So online or this kind of learning mode cannot be just substitute for the regular instruction. The instructional design needs to be considered and adapt to the nature of the subject of study. So depending upon the nature of the subject, the mode of delivery, the design of instructions should vary accordingly. It needs to mix with the conventional mode and broaden the scope of learning and customize so as to make it student-centered and technology-friendly. Fourth, it needs to maximize the use of ICT tools and make use of synchronous as well as asynchronous teaching learning models. It needs to fully abide by the legal provisions, particularly the cybersecurity laws, the professional norms and ethics, code of ethics for the professionals. And finally, one needs to demonstrate full respect to the health protocols for the safety of the teachers and the learners. So the guideline has made some provision so that educational institutions may adopt remote learning models. I prefer to use the term remote learning models because it is not only limited to online learning, but this certainly demands the institutions to be prepared accordingly. The capacity of the teachers and access to the high-speed internet, provision of necessary equipment and tools. The educational institutions are not at the same level in terms of such requirements. Also, access to internet, the availability of equipment and tools with students is equally important at home. It is not only that the equipments are available at the colleges, institutions, it should be with the students as well. So there is a risk that it may put into disadvantaged position students who are already disadvantaged, maybe just exacerbate the gap in achievement, as already discussed by the previous speakers. There's a risk that it may widen the disparity in learning achievement. It is welcome move from the government that the budget speech for this fiscal year, 2078-79, has made some provisions for the expansion of internet facility to educational institutions and also loan to students for equipment like laptop. There are some catch-up programs, especially for the school students, to address the learning loss for the needy students and needy areas. So there are certainly a number of efforts being made by the government to continue learning in this difficult situation. But again, the efforts are maybe not adequate, particularly to address to the needs of the students who are really in the disadvantaged position. The SDG goals and the government's priorities, the priority for learning, improving learning achievement, the quality, and also equity. I think many of the things have been discussed just before by my previous speaker, Mr. Dharma Swarnakar. So I don't want to repeat that. So in this 2-day seminar, there are a number of papers and presentations that cover a wide range of areas. The seminar will prove very much instrumental in developing broader understanding of the status, issues, and challenges. And in light of that, designing future courses of action for the management of educational programs in such a crisis situation. I wish every success of the seminar. Thank you all, and namaste.
Thank you, Tulasi sir. So thank you for sharing some of the information and data regarding how education sector has become worst hit area in this pandemic. And we really appreciate you for showing us the light at the end of tunnel by sharing some of the policies and strategies of Ministry of Education that are under development amid pandemic and letting education become the least affected area in future. Thank you so much, Tulasi sir. We really appreciate. Now it's time to request Mr. Christian Ashley, who is the Director of Political Dialogue Asia Program, so CAS Singapore. So let's welcome Mr. Christian Ashley for his address. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair, and a very warm welcome from my side indeed. I'm very happy that we are able to have our very first CAS Spaces seminar with our friends in Nepal on the very important topic of education. So Mr. Madhav Noipane, Professor Sagar Raj Sharma, Ms. Megha Sama, Mr. Dharma Swarnakar, Dr. Tulasi Tapaligaya, and of course, my dear friend, Dr. Nishal Pandey, ladies and gentlemen. Education is a very complex problem, and I think this has become very clear. Oh, my background has gone. Let me bring it back. Oh no, it's gone, sorry. So you have to do with the books and the title of the program. Education is a very complex problem, and we've heard that from the speakers, from the excellent inputs that we heard so far. It's not enough just to raise the salary of teachers. It's not enough to give every child a laptop or a tablet. it's not enough to build more and more schools. A lot of problems come together when it comes to excellent education, and that is why we think it is so important to discuss about education in this series of CAS Spaces webinars throughout the whole of Asia, as Mega has pointed out with a final regional workshop at the end. We have decided to look at 3 particular dimensions of education, which we believe are key. That is the teachers, how to train the teachers, how to motivate the teachers, how to make sure that they adapt to modern teaching styles and modern technologies. And then, of course, the infrastructure, the schools, but also, of course, the accessibility to schools. And then in a bigger question, also the access to education, especially for disadvantaged groups. So these are the 3 topics that we are going to focus on in the next 2 days. And I'm very, very thankful to our co-organizers from the National College of Kathmandu University and from the Center of South Asian Studies to do such an excellent job in bringing so many good speakers together, not only from Kathmandu and from the bigger cities, but also from the regional areas and the rural areas in particular. It's very important for us not to only focus on the main cities, but also really to have a broader look. We have a lot of participants today, so I'm looking very much forward to a very engaged discussion. And for those of you who have not heard from Konrad Adenauer Stiftung so far, allow me to quickly introduce our work. Konrad Adenauer Foundation is a German political foundation. We receive our funds from the German government, and we are active in over 100 countries worldwide. The Political Dialogue Asia, which I'm representing today, is based in Singapore, and it's a regional program that works on political cooperation, on digitization, on questions of multilateral cooperation, and also on the Sustainable Development Goals, which is the latest addition to our portfolio. So we are very happy that we are able to get the discussion started today. I think all of us who are here in the room know how important education was for our own progress and our own career. I assume everybody remembers at least 2 or 3 favorite teachers that really helped to form our thinking and to kind of get our careers and our professional life started. And so what we want to do with this webinar today and with the following webinars is to make sure that as many children as possible have that experience of receiving quality education that enables them to do great in their lives. And this is not only about COVID-19. We talked a lot about COVID-19 today, but I think it's important also to have this broader perspective beyond COVID-19, what can be done to make sure that education is not only good in challenging times when pupils cannot even actually visit schools, but how can we make sure for the next decades up until 2050 to make sure that every child in every country in the region receives quality education. So thank you so much to all of you for joining our efforts. I'm looking very much forward to the debate in the next 2 days. And I hope that I will also see some of you for our regional event towards the end of the year. And who knows, maybe we can do it at least as a hybrid event. So I really hope to meet some of you also in person soon again. Thank you so much and all the best for the workshop.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Christian. So definitely, as you said, that teaching and training of teachers too is quite important, along with upgrading the infrastructure, along with other software policies that are in progress in education, not only from the COVID perspective, but also beyond. So also many thanks for your best wishes. I'm sure this entire event will be a grand success. Thank you so much. Now we are nearing towards the end of this inaugural session of the program this morning. And finally, we have Dr. Nishchalnath Pandey, Director of CSAS, Kathmandu, and I request him to express his vote of thanks. Please, Nishchal sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ujjalji. On behalf of the Center for South Asian Studies, I would also like to welcome all participants and speakers of this 2-day seminar on accelerating progress and equality in education. It's a difficult time here in Nepal, and all of us know that this is the second wave of the pandemic. More than 7,000 people dead, this crippling lockdown, which has been going on for the last 3 weeks, and a host of other challenges that we face as a society, as a country. A lot of that has already been mentioned by the previous speakers. One of the crucial tests will be the impact on the education sector because of this lockdown and the overall situation. When Ms. Megha Sharma, program manager of the Political Dialogue Asia program of the Adenauer Stiftung, mentioned that CAS had thought of this project, I was very happy and wanted to launch this pilot seminar here in Kathmandu. I'm thankful to National College, Kathmandu University, for Madhav sir, for Ujjwal ji, for agreeing to host this. Of course, it would have been wonderful if we could have done it physically, but then last month, just before the lockdown, but the enthusiasm of the faculty and the students, we see nearly about 100 students here in this platform. I think this is a very good semblance that we do attach importance to this issue. By the way, the Center for South Asian Studies is a think tank. We are not affiliated with your university. We are autonomous, but we are closely, I mean, as a family, we are closely associated with the college. The Political Dialogue Asia program, Adenauer Stiftung, I think the young people can go into their Facebook page or their their social media pages. You can see the background at the back of Ms. Megha Sharma. You can also log into their Facebook pages. Since we have so many students, I think you'd like to see their pages and other activities that they conduct also. Some schools and colleges ran distance education program prior to the emergence of COVID-19 pandemic, but most of the educational institutions were unaware of this mode. Digital transformation of instructional delivery came with several logistical challenges and attitudinal modifications. And I feel there are a few issues that we need to flag upon as we start the sessions today and tomorrow. First, there were technical issues. The faculty, the students did not know how to operate, and we were just absolutely unaware of how these platforms work. Second was issues of distractions and time management. Since most of us were studying or working from home, the whole issue of time management came in. Third was challenges of staying motivated. When you are going to a college or a school, then you are motivated because you are getting up in the morning, going to the classes, meeting your friends, going to the canteen and so forth. But then there is so much lack of motivation when you are studying from home. There is also understanding and misunderstanding of course expectations, as most of the faculty, they are teaching from home and you don't know how to answer, how to ask questions and so forth. But a lot of these has been corrected as we have gone through these mode of education. This is also unfamiliar technology. There is also lack of in-person interaction. And also there is the whole issue of cost, the data coverage, data charges. A lot of students in the rural areas use their mobile phone because they do not have a tablet or a laptop. They are using mobile phone data charges because the internet connectivity is not there or it is very poor. And we'll be discussing this from internet service providers this afternoon. Some of the major service providers like Subisu will be joining us this afternoon, and they'll be talking about how they have been supporting schools and colleges in the rural areas with lesser data charges. So we'll be discussing all these crucial issues in the sessions. Let me also inform that Center for South Asian Studies is also undertaking an important research on impact of COVID-19 pandemic on all 17 SDGs. And I feel this seminar will be useful to understand the SDG 4 in particular. In the CAS Spaces open forum tomorrow, we'll be having more of an active participation of students and young people, free and frank sharing of experiences, the students on how online education and how online teaching has been progressing as far as they are concerned. I'm particularly grateful to UNDP Nepal. I'm grateful to the college, to Dean Sagar Raj Sharma, the Joint Secretary at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Tulsi Thapalya, for your time this morning. I do understand this is a very difficult time here in Kathmandu, but despite of all this family troubles and problems and constraints, we are gathered here for 2 days. This would not have been possible without the kind support of the Political Dialogue Asia program, Mr. Christian Eschle, the director of the Adenauer Stiftung. He has been so forthcoming and so kind to help us, even at the time when there's so much of challenge as we face as a society. And for your time and your valuable address, Christian, thank you so much. I'd also like to record my sincere appreciation to all the distinguished participants who have joined us from as far as Germany, from Bangladesh, from UNESCO Bangkok, from students from other schools. So thank you very much. And I really look forward to the discussions and interaction in the afternoon and tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nishal sir. Now it's time for the group photo. So let's turn on your camera. So let's turn our camera, everyone, so that we can take a screenshot. We will try to scroll down and take as many shots as possible, because I don't think that all 100 people can be accommodated in one single frame of the computer. That's why let's turn on camera and we will take the group photos and we will soon share with you all. Thank you so much. And after this, we will have 15 minutes break, and our next plenary session will start at 10:30 a.m. Nepali time, which is 12:45 p.m. Singapore and Hong Kong, and 6:45 a.m. in Germany. So Dr. Badide Pandey will be chairing that session, and we will be able to see 4 fantastic presentation sessions by experts and academicians. So let's turn on camera, everyone, and let's have a group photo. Thank you. I'm sure others are also helping me to take the picture. So in the end, please send that pictures to me in the end. Thank you so much. So let me take few screenshots. Let me scroll down. I think I took all. So if any one of you are taking, please feel free to take the shot, and we will have exactly 20 minutes break, and we will assemble at 10:30. Exactly after 20 minutes, we will assemble again. Thank you. And also thanks to Nishal sir for your vote of thanks. Thank you, sir. Okay, welcome back everyone. Now it's time to start plenary session. So in order to start this session, first of all, I would like to request Dr. Badri Pandey sir in order to chair the session. So Badri sir, can you hear me? Badri sir, can you hear me? If you are hearing me, then could you please turn on your camera and mic both so that everyone could see you? Dr. Badri Pandey sir. So in order to do the presentation, so let me invite 4 panelists right now. So first one is Mr. Pitambar Bhandari from Central Department of Peace, Conflict and Development Studies, representing Tribhuvan University. And our second presenter is Sunil Kumar Gharpi from Kavya School. And our third presenter is Ms. Apeksha Shah from Department of International Relations and Cooperation, Tribhuvan University. And our fourth presentation is Mr. Narad Rizal from Kathmandu University High School. So let me request Pitambar Bhandari from Tribhuvan University to start his presentation. Mr. Bhandari, could you please start your presentation?
Thank you, Ujjwal sir. The chair of this session, all the dignitaries here, Mr. Christian, Dr. Nishalnath Pandey, principal of the National College, then Megha Sharma. So without taking much time, I'll directly go to the presentation. So for
Mr.
this,
Bhandari, I have enabled screen sharing option, so you can also share your screen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can we see this, sir, now?
Yes, this is visible.
Yes. So thank you, sir. So now we are at the stage of global public health crisis, better we would say on that way, global public health crisis. Then we all know about this COVID-19 pandemic now, how this has impacted the life and the livelihood of the people around the globe itself. Not only to the very advanced, those countries which have very advanced health management care system, but also to all the underdeveloped countries and each and every countries. So also this COVID-19 pandemic has brought a new normal situation in our day-to-day activities, not only limited to our livelihood, but also the political discourses around the globe. There are various competitive arenas that has been developed due to this COVID-19 pandemic regarding to the policymakers, the state actors, the non-state actors, also the global governmental and the intergovernmental forums, various forums. And this COVID-19 has brought various impacts in terms of short-term, mid-term, and long-term. So I would be focusing on the short-term, mid-term, and long-term in terms of education towards the quality education during my presentation. So I would be presenting on the impact of this COVID-19 pandemic on quality education. So various sectors such as economic, social, and political sectors, among them under the social, health, and education has been the major spectrum where the COVID-19 pandemic has brought an unprecedented impacts. And among all these 3 spheres, that is one common condition called the mobility, which has been restricted. And this has been the major source of negative impacts. Now, while going through the major pillars of quality education, we can just narrate this in terms of quality teaching, quality tools for teaching and learning environment, and then the teaching and learning environment. And these pillars could again be strengthened by various other parameters such as resource, communication, collaboration, assessment, accreditation, reporting, and accessibility. In terms of resource, before this, the pandemic outbreak, the countries which were very much underdeveloped or which were struggling still to meet the sustainable development goal targets under the SDG 4 component, inclusive education, and then the quality education. These resources were a major form of hindrance that they were struggling to meet. It includes various softwares and even the hardwares for the resources, teaching materials, and even the access to the educational institutions for primary or the secondary or the higher education itself. So due to this pandemic, the resource, those which were already limited, now has also been constrained. The resource constraint is one of the major challenges for us. Even various online portals, they have developed a new form of resources to deliver or to assure the quality education. Still, they are struggling in that case. Communication now, this would be one of the best pillar for the quality education, because communicating with the students and the other stakeholders in terms of classroom environment or other sectors. For example, communicating with the different structures and the agencies which would be more functional in terms of planning, policy making, in terms of education. Now, this communication has been not only disturbed in classroom activities, but also in terms of communicating related to the various national and international agencies. Collaboration among the students, among the teachers, among the researchers, it has been affected. Assessment. Now, this has been the major hindrance, which we also learned in this the inaugural session, that how to assess the students' performance. This has been a major challenge. So for the countries which are not well equipped with this new form of technologies in terms of teaching and learning, for example, different web apps and then the other audiovisual learning schemes, this now assessment has been a major struggle. For the countries like Nepal, again, what we can say is that the schools and the colleges, those are very much scattered. And then the students, they come to one single institution from different parts of the country, different remote parts of the countries. Now, after this, the lockdown situation or the prohibitory orders declared by the government time and again, they have been shifted to their original hometowns, or they have been restricted, their mobility has been restricted. Then how to get their assessment to, how to submit their other examination schemes, those they produce through the examination system. Even the assessment has been the largest challenge. Accreditation, now this has been questioned. So it is not only the institution or the organization, the educational organization, that would recognize the degree of the students, but it is also by the other institutions or the national or the international, even the job market. So this accreditation has been a new form of challenge for us now. So the reporting, how the faculties or how the other administrative staff report about the existing situation of the students, to what mechanisms, this has been also a new challenge for us. And then the accessibility, without having access to all these components, then we cannot assure the quality education, because if the reporting or the collaboration, communication, resource, what is the current status of this? And this is also from varying from one institution to the another institution. This has been a new challenge for us if there's the lack of accessibility for us. So now, impact of pandemic on education in Nepal. Nepal has adopted a new form of education system: basic education, secondary education, and higher education. Earlier it was primary, lower secondary, and then the higher education. Now, in all these levels, we can see a common form of impact, that is restricted mobility in the assessment and in the teaching learning environment. In all these three sections, we have common. So, but basic education, yeah, for example, for those who are in higher education, they have a short-term impact, because their the result publication and then the examination may be postponed for a few months, or let's say 1 or 2 years. But those who are under the basic education and the secondary education, both, those who want to get enrolled in the higher education in near future, it might have a long-term impact due to the COVID-19. So the major impacts that could be listed as the uncertainty of assessment has directly affected the students of different levels. So when will they get their degree certified? When the results would be published? This is one of the major impact for all the levels of students. And then the distribution of benefits such as textbooks, scholarships, midday meal, and other learning materials, those are also negatively affected during this situation. And then the academic calendar of all levels, primary, secondary, and higher education in Nepal, it has been disrupted. The schools are closed. Alternative methods, those are adapted in order to continue teaching and learning activities by webs and radios, but television, this could not reach all the students. And then the restriction on the emotional and the physical development of the students, basically at the primary level. this has been adopted. Now, beside this, we have various cross-cutting issues. For example, now the crisis-driven methods applied in teaching and learning methodology, that we were not prepared for this. Some of the institutions, they were focusing on the distance learning, and the target group for the distance learning was very limited. And those who already have some sort of skills and the knowledge, and even the degree, and they need some extra effort or to have their value added in their ongoing career, or who want to develop a new career as well. But now we have to be focused on those schemes of distance learning and then the online teaching. So this has been a crisis-driven method. That means the sustainability of this is questioned still. So why to establish or institutionalize such methods in teaching and learning if it is only a crisis-driven? Or how to manage this the huge task as a crisis-driven method within this short period of time? This is one cross-cutting issue for us. And then we have a huge gap between the private and public educational institutions. In private educations, we have the good managerial skill, but resources may be questioned because the government funding is not found there. It should be run based on the let's say a form of private-public partnership here, due to the fee and some sort of other projects, educational projects, research domain in that cases. So, but we can see now some of the private institutions which are much with much limited resources, they are doing better. But those governmental institutions which have resources, but due to lack of managerial skill during this type of crisis, now there is this gap which has also affected the quality education. Also, we are trying to inject a very homogeneous tool in the heterogeneous environment. For example, very limited the tools which we have borrowed, those teaching learning tools for that. And then the quality control mechanism, especially during the time of conduction of examinations, what should be the modality of online exams and how to assure the quality control. This is a huge challenge for us. And then internationalization of higher education institutions. For the countries like Nepal, one of the major focus would be international of higher education institutions, of either those would be the private or the public institutions, through research, through exchange, through mobility of students and faculties, joint publications. All these have been challenged during this time. And then the research and training, which is the major pillar of another major component of the quality education, it has been badly affected because we have to be limited in the virtual space. We have very lack of access to data, or setback in knowledge production, because all the activities and research we have been focusing on the COVID-19 and COVID-19. Everything we have been focusing on is due to the impact of the COVID-19, maybe it in the higher education, in the gender, but all the other aspects of the society, those have been undermined since last few months. And then we have very much limited access to the digital library, which would be the major reservoir for the literature review and the base for the research. So now coping mechanisms are case of university. This would be my final presentation. I'm at the end part. The time is also now running out. So the case of Tribhuvan University is the largest university in Nepal. We have around more than 400,000 students. We have 61 constant campuses, and then 1,100 affiliated campuses offering more than 2,000 undergraduate courses, more than 1,700 graduate courses. So all these courses, then we have the central mechanism is very bureaucratic in TU. Every decision should be followed by the central mechanism. So in this case, how Tribhuvan University has managed to cope this situation is now that Tribhuvan University has fortunately started the online classes, and it has not been again to the access to all the students due to various constraints. We have at one side, we have this bureaucracy, other side, we have various policy constraints, because we should follow the procedures that has been established and then authorized, approved by those bodies. Now we have to change all those policies. So at one side we have this. On the other hand, we have 9 institutions and the offices of the dean under Tribhuvan University, which are also constantly focusing to solve these issues. So now what Tribhuvan University has done is that it has created one official email ID of all the students and the faculties, ranging from the undergraduate level to the PhD level, and we have been functioning in that way through the Microsoft Teams. We have designed in such a way that, but still the major problem for us is how to conduct the examination. And the evaluation system, the assessment system, is one of the major challenges for us while coping under this this COVID pandemic as well. So I would like to conclude here due to the time constraints. If there are any issues, we can deal later on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pitambar sir, for a very nice presentation and it was really thought provocative. So let me introduce chair of the session, Dr. Badridev Pandey, who could not speak because of the mic problem before. And after thanking Pitambar sir a lot for your excellent presentation. So Badri sir, Dr. Badridev Pandey sir, could you please turn on your camera so that we could see you and say hi to everyone? Badri sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, okay. So we are not able to see you. Maybe your camera is off, but I think that's okay. Well, we need to proceed with the presentation. So in the end, you can say something if time allows, right? So thank you, Badri sir. So Dr. Badridev Pandey is a renowned academician and education expert who has also contributed a lot in the field of conservation. So he has worked in many governmental and non-governmental institutions, including IUCN as well. So Dr. Pandey also taught in National College for more than 15 years. Right now, he has been visiting faculty at National College. So thank you so much, Dr. Pandey, for coming here and also chairing the session. Now, without further delay, I would like to request Mr. Sunil Gharti, who is the Director of Information Technology Department and Computer Department of Kavya School, Kathmandu. Now, Sunil, please proceed with your presentation. Thank you.
Namaste, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, National College and Ujjwal sir, for giving me an opportunity to put my views regarding. I'm going to share the presentation. Share the screen. Okay.
Mr. Sunil, your slide share option is enabled so that you can share your slides. Okay, thank you.
Regarding the primary and the secondary education impact in Nepalese rural sector. Now, yes, according to the UNESCO, we say that UNESCO has observed the most government around the world have institutions in the attempt to contain the spreading of the COVID-19 pandemic. The most of that, like according to the World Bank also, COVID-19 pandemic is causing the more than 1.6 billion children and youth to be out of the schools, and 161 countries in this close 18% of the world enroll students. So we are also that in that part. So before we like in a COVID-19 in this pandemic, there are so many dilemmas. Like there were so many questions which we found, we did have any answers, like how to run the schools, how to connect with the students and the parents, and how long should we wait. Like these are the problems. What are the technology solutions available, and what is the impact of COVID on child psychology, and how government address it. These are so many the questions or the dilemma which we feel during that time. A few schools and the colleges in urban areas have started to run the online classes to mitigate the impact on the learning. However, the running the online classes does not seem to be feasible for the most rural schools in Nepal. Like the schools have in a little, some of the schools, they have the experience and some of they don't have experience of conducting the online classes. Indeed, the most of the teachers do not seem to have the adequate skills to run the online classes, as they have neither been trained to do the job or have been involved in the online teaching before. So these are the problems we face, like challenges and opportunities. There are lots of challenges to the online classes to run in this pandemic. Like we have a problem with the connectivity, poor connectivity, poor quality connectivity, like a problem with the devices, learning environment at home. There is not a suitable learning environment in the home, like a student seriousness, another problem. So in the physically, the teachers is in front of the students, so they observe, they are in discipline, kind of the seriousness. But in online classes, this is another big challenges, like the technically qualified teachers. Yes, we are not a IT native, we are the IT migrants. So this is the big challenges for us. This is like a no virtual curriculum yet. Another very difficult is that the virtual curriculum is not designed. So we go and we follow that path. The student testing, evaluation, and the models is not developed yet. This is another problem we found in both rural and urban areas. Like opportunity, like there are lots of opportunities also to support and guide the students' independent learning. These are the opportunities. Now we are the back in the IT, but this pandemic gives some of the opportunities for our teachers and for the students and the parents also. like access a lot of the online resources and the expertise, wide reach, global connectivity. These are the opportunities, advances in technology knowledge. So advance in technology knowledge, the students and the teacher, they advance their skills. Before that, only they know how to use like a simple, like a social media and the simple kind of the things, but they are not familiar with we can do like online teaching also is possible. We are back. Like that, the technology integration is another part. We learn these things, enhance the presentation skills developed during this last year, during this period. Parents have the access to the good part of that. The parents will know that. The individual parents, they observe, they monitor how their schools, their kids are learning, how the schools monitoring, how they are delivering. The parents will able to know about the teachers' performance also. This is another part. The teachers are more responsible now in this time, because they understood when they are teaching, the parents are near that. Like in this way, the national and the rural context, the problem, many schools were still in dilemma in that time, 3 to 4 months, especially in rural areas, how to go, how to run. The running classes are closed, like the exams are closed. The action of the government to close all the educational, the government took the action to close all the educational institutions, postponing of all the national level examination. This happened during that lockdown, during that period. Similarly, the parents from the rural location may be reluctant to send their children back to school, because they may prefer their children to continue to support them in farming and livestock rearing. Like successful for the stressful for the parents with a low income who have to struggle for daily wages and do not have the proper internet access. That is another problem. And another is that the dropout rate rise in between this last 1 year for the different reason. Like many parents have lost their jobs due to the pandemic, and their economic crisis has worsened than them to send before. Therefore, it is likely that some parents may not be able to afford their children to attend the schools, and children may need to work to provide the economic support to their family. This is another thing. We know that the Nepal, we depend on the remittance, but during this pandemic has badly affected abroad jobs, focusing people to lose their jobs and return to Nepal. This situation might also lead the higher dropout students, or they migrate, they change. Like many of the students who are in a capital, they back to their hometown. This is another problem. So the government announces to take the alternative approach to provide the education to the students. Few of the schools adopted the modern technologies, whereas most of them had to depend on traditional, like a FM and the TV broadcasting method way. Academic year was pushed by the 3 months. And similarly, the government officially approved that the online education and the online examination. These are the things. Now, regarding the online activities, as the school in Kathmandu school, which is located in Baneshwar, we started in the beginning. We successfully launched the virtual classes right at the time of the beginning of the academic year. At that time means that is from the Baishakh 8th. So what we did, like in the beginning, at the March 22nd, the lockdown started. Then after we prepare for the online classes, we are aware the parents, and we build up the capacity, build up, train to the teacher. And then after we in that 1 month, in the vacuum of the 1 month, we started to awareness video posting through the schools website, mobile app, and social media. Similarly, we started to share the educational website for the reference to our students. So may they engage, they busy during that time to learn some things. So we started to share some of the educational link. We consulted before starting the online classes. We talked with the teachers, parents, and then we consulted the local governments, experts, and our PAPSON, private and boarding school organizations, and we did the parent survey also. Then after we started to capacity building, like there are so many ways to do the online classes. Alternative available technologies are there, like a Google Classroom, Google Meet, Zooms, Microsoft Teams. So which one is the easy? So we are already the part of the Google Suite. So we started to run the online classes through the Google Suite, Google Classroom, and the Google Synchronous and Asynchronous, both mode in Classroom and the Google Meet. We started to capacity building, like for management, for teacher, and for parents and students. This is very important to run the whole system online virtually. So we started to building the capacity with these all team. Then after we slowly to engage to the student, to the kids, we started to post their own recreation. We told them to do some activities like to post their own videos, storytelling, poem writing, drawings. So we tried to busy our student during at that time. We had called the virtual meeting frequently with the teachers and with the parents, and we in that time the online classes of it's not started, and the SE examination also in Delhi it was postponed, and we started to boost up classes through the Zoom and other online technology. Using online technology, we started to prepare our students. You know that the COVID lockdown started from the March 23rd, right after the final examination of the students. We managed to publish the exam result because the result is not published. So we think about publish through the through the web, and we use our school one app, and we communicate with the teachers and the student, and we publish the result virtually. Now and then after we did the continually connected with the online conference with the teachers. We did the teachers training sessions every day, 2 hours. 2 hours every day to empower the teachers for technology, to make them know about more about technology. Similarly, we in touch with the Curriculum Development Center, CDC, to share some the new curriculum or the new content, which is just a thematic integration is integrated. So we connect our teachers to the with the Curriculum Development Center. Similarly, we did a lot physically. What we did previously is the most of the schools do that. Physically they do the parents teachers meeting, and we did that through the webinar. We called the PTM, and we talk. We share the ideas. We get the suggestions from them, and we try to implement those all things. Like we observed that during this time, 97% of the students, our students, are involved in the online classes. We collect the data through our apps. Like most of the students, yes, they are most of the students who are out of the Kathmandu Valley, like the Birganj, Lahan, Janakpur, Zappa, Kabre, I think they also joined the classes. They engaged. We say that we are success for doing these all things. We took the exams, and virtually we took the exams like using a Google Classroom and schools app through that. And we did some of the other things like online admission procedures. Also, we go through the virtually. We connect our students to the mobile app, and we do the parents. They like that. We organize the talent show virtually, so the little mind not think of other things, so they engage. So we do that all things through the virtually. We run, and similarly we did lots of activities like the virtual debate, participate in the different international forum. Our students participate in this different international forum. Similarly, we teaching and learning, and then finally we know that how to run the virtual classes, and our teachers and students they aware of the technology, and it's easy now. So not it's just one of the example, but it is a big problem in the rural areas. We see that the lack of the internet connectivity and the awareness of these all things, and the technically awareness, and the big problem in the rural areas. Like this I found in my survey. Thank you, Ujjwal sir. Thank you. If any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil Gharti, for being so accurate with time, and also sharing so interesting but a bit disheartening information that regarding the problem that you have been facing, and your students particularly from the rural areas are facing. So thank you, Sunil Gharti, for giving such good information about the status of school education in particular that our country is facing in terms of school education, and our small children are facing. Now it's exactly 11 o'clock, and it's time for me to request Ms. Apeksha Shah to present her paper entitled Addressing Cost Management, Affordability and Teachers' Needs. And Ms. Apeksha Shah is Assistant Professor, Department of International Relations, Tribhuvan University, Kathmandu. Please, Apeksha ji, move on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ujjwal ji. Honorable Chair, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm honored and grateful to be able to put my thoughts forward on such an important topic, and would like to thank the organizers for getting us together here today. I'm confident that our discussion will present us with important takeaways to further strengthen and promote the education sector in Nepal. I do not have a presentation ready for us today. I'm just going to give my points, some points and my experience during the pandemic and the online classes that we conducted and we are conducting right now as well. I just finished my online class. Right, so I'll just be giving out a few challenges and opportunities that I have experienced and that I think are important for us to take them into consideration as we move ahead in the education sector. As already mentioned, by Ujjwal-ji, I'm currently teaching at the International Relations in TU, where I have been teaching at the master's program since last 6 years. Today, I'll be briefly putting forward my experience. First, I would like to introduce our department to you so that you guys could understand the context and our experience during the pandemic. So the Department of International Relations and Diplomacy began as a 2-year master's program in 2013 within the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, Dhulikhel University. The master's program consists of 4 semesters, and every year we enroll 15 new students to the program. And at one time, basically, we have 2 semesters running simultaneously. So when the pandemic began, we had just taken a fresh batch of students while another semester was in the middle of their exams. When the lockdown was enforced on March 23rd, 2020, we began our online classes by 3rd week of April. And I assume that we were one of the first educational institutes within and outside of TU to begin online classes. Initially, we used Zoom to conduct the classes, but later Dhulikhel University and Microsoft, they had an agreement, which was such a great initiative. Microsoft gave us almost 500,000 free accounts, Microsoft accounts, and we could start using Teams. But not only that, we could use Teams, but the fact that we got official ID was a very big a great, I think, a good progress, because we did not have them before. And it's nice for students to also have a professional ID and also for the teachers. So that was a really great initiative. And we started off with our online classes. And earlier, Pitambar sir has already mentioned a lot about TU and how things work over there and what all we've been doing. So I'm not going to talk too much about that, but right. So our personal experience was okay, and in the sense that by the time the lockdown was over in February 2021, we had finished both the semesters and we were right in time to take the final examinations, and we did that. So the semester cycle was not hindered at all because of the pandemic, and we were able to successfully hold our examinations. However, given saying that, there were a few challenges, and one of the biggest challenge for running the online class was obviously access to internet and IT facilities by our students and faculty. Due to the pandemic, many had to leave town in short notice, while many went back to their homes in rural areas. But thanks to phone carriers providing data on reasonable rates, most of our students were able to attend using their smartphones in case they did not have their laptops. Moreover, we had also taken out a policy to refund students for the data usage in special cases. I personally had good internet connection, but it was still not good enough at times. And even in our department, even after the odd and even started, we could have gone to the department to conduct online classes, but even the department did not have as good of internet connectivity as was required to conduct online classes. So the main problem with the internet connectivity was the fact that everybody could not turn on their video, and that was like such a disadvantage. And that is, I think, one of the biggest backdrops of conducting online classes is that you cannot see your students, and you really don't know if they're actually paying attention, because our classes begin like really early. Like we have a class at 6:30, so we're on our dot at 6:30. We're starting our classes, so it was very difficult to find out if the students were actually participating, or that they had if they could listen to us properly or not. So those were the things that were kind of problematic. And moreover, our master's course consists of a breakdown of 40-60. That means 40% is through internal assignments and 60% is the final exams. So they had to submit their assignments, so presentations and term papers had to be submitted while we were also going on with the online classes. So that was a bit problematic, because they could attend through their smartphones, but typing an assignment through phone was was quite difficult. And this was again a reminder that most of our, a lot of our students might not have access to a personal laptop or computer. And in normal times, they were accessing these resources from public places and, the university and so on. So that was kind of a bit challenging. For sure. In the case of the faculty, I think, there was this general lack of IT skills and knowledge, which made it difficult for some to cope with the changing circumstances. But the university, Driven University took really great initiatives, and we really have to be thankful to our IT department because they conducted really nice presentations, and they really helped us through Teams, and they had other online training for us to sort of get used to the online platforms, which was really helpful and was very well conducted. And during that time, you sort of realize that, how many faculties struggled with IT knowledge, and it would have been so much nicer if they would have been given this training even earlier, because, that was something that I did really feel that it was something that the university could have done before the pandemic. It was a very much required thing, but the fact that we did have them now was a great move. So the online, I think this was something that is coming up, the online technology and the online pedagogy of how to sort of teach the education learning experience. And effective online pedagogy is one of the, emphasis that we have to focus on as we move forward, because even during normal times, we can use these online platforms to make, to make studies more exciting. So definitely that was a very big, it was a challenge, but at the same time, it gave us the opportunity to conduct training. So I think that was really great. And then because of this, I think there was a lot of conversations around, other softwares like to check plagiarism, maybe we could just further strengthen the online system to sort of take in assignments. So we had a training on Moodle, which is like an online platform, something that I used when I was in the university back in the UK. So these things were introduced, so that was good. But definitely there was challenges with these IT skills, and we did struggle a little bit initially. Having said that, now the effectiveness of the online classes is definitely something that's debatable. Like I think Pitambar sir was also talking about the final examinations we have, the written exam. So because of that, I think it's difficult to say how effective the online classes were, because we took the final exams and the results honestly were not that different from our regular lectures, because because our education system is so traditional and even at the master's level, that you can just study and sort of pass your exams. So that ways, I guess it was a boon that we did not, the students did not have to waste a year and we could continue with the semester cycle. But how effective was the online teaching is something that I don't think we still can sort of predict. But then, yeah, overall, it was a good experience. But again, if we had to select, I think online lectures are not going to be, as a teacher, I don't know about the students, but definitely physical lectures, you feel more better with physical lectures and you feel more confident that your students are getting things and that there are no problems when you're speaking to them. So that is definitely there. But with the online platforms and with Teams, I think one of the biggest things that we can continue, and that's what the important thing is, that we continue with these trends in online platforms. Like before the pandemic, I used to use this platform called Edmodo, which is this, and if people are interested, you guys can use them too, like Google Classroom sometimes, because your Gmail gets really filled with Google Classroom. So I used to use this other platform called Edmodo, which is free. And my students really responded well to that. Like for instance, Edmodo gives you so it's same thing as Teams now. So you can submit assignments, you can grade them, you can send notification. It's an app. So every time you send a notice to your students, they get a notification. So I really used to like this online platform for the assignments particularly. And my students also used to really like the platform because they used to get reminders for submission. So if they're going to be late, so they get alerts and then they don't have excuses to say they forgot. So it was a really convenient way of interacting. And with Teams now, we're doing the same. Personally, I think I still prefer Edmodo. I'm still having problems with Teams a little bit. I think they can still make it better for us. But then, yeah, I think that's something that we should continue using. And I think teachers also should be encouraged to use these platforms because it's more easier. And especially when we have to check things like term paper, you have to be very careful about plagiarism. So that is also another thing that online, it saves paper. It is much more convenient and faster, and it's more organized that way. So definitely, I think there were challenges during the pandemic and online classes. And there were issues about affordability, definitely, given that if how are we going to create more, let's say, IT infrastructure within departments within the university. So there is a lot of cost that is going to come up in days to come, and that is something that we need to think about. But at the same time, I think the pandemic has given a great opportunity for us to move ahead with online platforms and to utilize them to make things more inclusive. Like, I think one of the biggest takeaway for me was the fact that my students were in Humla and they could attend the class, and I thought that how many of people in Nepal cannot study international relations because they're not in Kathmandu. So, I mean, I think this is also something that I think universities and colleges should think about, giving online and distance learning, because I think that gives opportunities to so many people, because so many people cannot leave their homes and come to cities to study. But through online platforms, we can really, I think, move forward with these specialized courses, these degree courses that can make things more inclusive and give us access to these rural areas where there are students and there are people who would like to study, and give them the opportunity. But I think I'll just conclude now. But yeah, in the conclusion, I would just like to say that the experience in the pandemic was really great. And one of the things was also about this mental health. So of course, we were not pressurizing our students in any way to submit assignments or be pressurized for presentations. We were very understanding, and we did tell them that if there's a case in the house, do let us know. So I think there was also this connection between students and teachers where you understand that it's not only about grades, and it's not, there are personal issues. And I think this is also something that we should consider and take as we move, once the pandemic is over, to sort of be more considerate about mental health challenges and personal challenges that students are facing. But yeah, overall, I think it was a good experience. And I hope that we will continue with this as we move forward and after the pandemic ends. Right, so I'll just end it here. Thank you so much, Ujjwalji.
Thank you, Apeksha-ji. So we are quite sure that the students enjoyed your lecture even without audio and visuals, the way we enjoyed, in fact. So you have such a fantastic articulation skill, Apeksha-ji. And also thank you very much for showing the light at the end of tunnel by expressing and also giving the highlights about what are the technologies that Educational Institute nowadays can capitalize in order to make online classes and online learning system even more effective, right? Since everyone is complaining about the pandemic, you came out with the idea regarding what else can be done or what can be done in order to do better in the field of education. So thank you, Apeksha-ji, a lot. So now we have a next presentation by Mr. Narad Rizal, who represents Kathmandu University High School, Dhulikhel. So if you are living outside Kathmandu right now, then I must say that Dhulikhel is a very nice and beautiful touristic place, which is located about 20 miles away from Kathmandu Valley. And his topic of presentation is online learning based practices, lessons from pandemic. So please, Naradji, move ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ujjwal sir. I'm going to share my file. Am I allowed, Ujjwalji?
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me
Your file sharing option is enabled. Thank you.
Fine, thank you. Okay. Respected chair, dignitaries, and the participants over here. Today I'm going to speak on online learning best practices, lesson from the pandemic. Basically, I will be discussing about our experience that we had for the last 1 year. Okay. Let me move the file. Okay. Okay. We all know that in the whole world, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, about over 1.6 billion children in 191 countries, they were affected. That was the reason why the dimension of education changed very dramatically with the rise of e-learning practices, and the teaching has to do remotely through digital platforms. So very similar to that, even in the context of Nepal, nearly about 9 million children, they were affected from the pre-primary group to the university one. Okay, so that was the data that was produced by UNESCO 2020 last year in May. So from pre-primary to tertiary education, about 9 million students were affected, and we had to seek for the other alternatives to have our regular teaching learning practices. So let me discuss about how the idea came up when we had to do the online classes. So Kathmandu University High School, we have got 600 students, where we have got 60% as hostelers and 40% as day scholars. So we just had done the academic year 2077 when there was the lockdown situation. So we got a call from the management of chairman of the management committee, Professor Dr. Rajendra Gozri, and he was very serious about how we can move the classes on. So we had the senior management committee meeting to discuss about the smooth operation of the classes and the schools, and that was the inception, how we came up with the plan of having classes. So as per the schedule, we started the classes, okay, and the initial planning we did was we had 2-3 lessons for class 1 to 5, and for 6 to 8 we had 3-4 lessons, and for secondary we have got 4-5 lessons. That was the initial plan. But before that, we had senior management team meeting to discuss about how we can make the classes accessible to all the students, and we had a training facilitation program for the teachers to be digitally literate. Actually, they were literate digitally, but we wanted to empower them, because we are coming up with some new more practices. So we had orientations, workshops, regular staff meetings, and even like how we use Google Classrooms and the use of Zoom. So we made our teachers very aware of that, and that is how we began the classes. So basically, we use 3 mediums. We asked the teachers to enlist all the respective class students in the Viber, so that they can communicate with the children and with the parents. So that is for instant communication. And then we use Zoom portal for regular online classes. And when we had done the online classes, we post the recordings, the notes in the Google Classroom, and the children, they have to send back the assignment, they have to write the feedback. And through the school app, we use Vedaguru, and through the school app, the children have to enroll, so that we know how many percentage of the students are in the classroom. So it was a very encouraging fact that even from the very day one, we had 95% of the students participating in the online classes. But we do have some students who are in the scholarship quotas, so that might be a hindrance for them to enroll into the classes. So what we did is we asked them, either they can be in the classes through their own means, or they need our support. So we provided data, and even for some students who are very close to the schools, they can come into the schools, and they can use the school's Wi-Fi and the password. So that is how we gave access for the scholarship students as well. Not only with the students, we even asked the teachers that what do they need, since they are teaching the students from their home. So they might need swipe, because teaching mathematics through mobile phones was really very difficult. So we provided laptops, we even provided mobile data, and even the whiteboards from the school to the teachers, those who need it. That is how in the initial days, the teaching learning process became quite easier for the teachers, and the students were in a mood of learning it. So very interestingly, we had not distributed the books. So the books were delivered in the nearest places for students. Like even in Kathmandu, we had some destinations. The students, the parents, basically parents, they had to be there, and they had to collect the books. Even in Dhulikhel, they were at some point, and they collect books. That is what we did it. But after a few weeks, we planned for music, dance, art, and games classes. And we were very encouraged that basically the subject teachers were very encouraged to see the participation and the energy and the enthusiasm that the children were putting forward. And we even had thought that everyday classes might create boredom in the favor of students. So we invited different speakers, motivational speakers. I still remember that we invited Dr. Chintamani Yogi sir to talk about the stress management. That was really a very good thing for the students and the teachers as well. Okay, so we had some competitions, essay, singing, art, debate. So that was how even they were studying, but they were even doing some activities so that they would not miss things being at home. And the efforts that the teachers, the students and the parents have moved forward is basically, in the beginning, we had orientation for the teachers. All the teachers were not very well prepared on that. So while they were having classes, they began learning all the techno bits of the Zoom protocols. Definitely, there are so many things. Still, it has already been more than 1 year, but I need to learn a lot of things about Zoom practices. So I learned about the breakout sessions only after a long period of time. So while we are doing with the classes, we are quite familiar, and that was how very useful to the teachers and the students as well. The senior management team, which comprised of the director, principal, and the coordinators, we were in constant touch with all the teachers to see and to find out that what are the problems, what are the shortcomings, how should we help them to have the smooth classes every single day. So that is how they also feel that they were encouraged and motivated a lot. So within few span of time, they easily cope up with the situation, and we were very much conscious and concerned about the classes. We were not expecting that the class should be very one way kind of thing. So we wanted the participation of the students, and which, even though we were not able to finish things on time, but classroom was very lively, was very much participative. So all the children, even the children who were lagging behind into the classroom in terms of subject, they came forward. So that was, I'm going to discuss this later on as well. Those children whom we suppose that they are weak at subject, they came forward, they asked questions, they participated. That is a very good thing that we experienced. So what is the outcome? We did that. So what is the outcome? Definitely the teachers were very, very much empowered, because before that they were literate. Digitally they were literate, but we were not very much familiar with all these techno savvy kind of things. So that was the biggest thing that we have achieved. And now our students, I don't tell that class 1, 2, 3, but from class 1 to 12, there are many percentage of students who have got the knowledge on the video conferencing tools. Even class 1, they're quite habituated with mutes, videos, participating in the breakout rooms. So that is what this practices brought. And they were very much familiar with virtual tutoring and online learning portals, because there are so many portals in the website, that Coursera's, Khan Academy, Academic, or Open Cultural Online closed courses, which students were not familiar in the beginning, because we encourage, they used to come in the schools, we teach them what is there in the book. But now, since our presence is not with them very emotionally, so we have asked them to go all those through these sites. And now these days they come up with the idea that I finish these many kinds of courses. Even a grade 5, grade 6 student, he or she normally completes one online course in a week. And that is, I think that is the biggest learning that the student has done. Okay. And personally, I even have felt that this pandemic, I take this as an opportunity, because now this has boosted, this has encouraged the independent learning nature of student. Now they learn at home on their own. We scaffold to them, we give them some notes and boards, but they use it on their own. So this is an asset, I guess. So definitely learning every day. They used to come to the class. We used to lecture. There are so means and mediums of teaching, but even through these online portals, they enjoyed it. Okay, and the another outcome was now teachers, students, they have developed the habit of doing research, online researches. But definitely we have been telling them that to rely on definitely on some very good materials, but they have established. And now I believe that when the school is on, I guess we are going to use the ICT model apart from having face-to-face classes. So this has given us an ample opportunity to practice, to learn, and to use it in the days ahead as well. Another thing was, even though we were in the lockdown situation, we finished all the exams as per the schedule. Even though there were some lapses, there were some weaknesses that we have to improve and improvise in the days ahead, but we did it. And as I mentioned earlier as well, the weak students, they are performing right now. They are performing very well, because now they do not hesitate to ask the faculty about the questions that they feel very difficult, either through the chat box or in the medias. Okay, that is what we have felt. Now, apart from the strengths, definitely there are some outcomes. There are some challenges. Definitely there where we faced that the students, they arrive quite late. They leave class in between. The audios and videos were off, and we had no idea that where they are. And when you ask them, definitely the common answer is that the unstable internet, a lack of electricity, this and that. So these are the challenges, but I think we can even address these things as well. And another challenge is about was the heavy plagiarism. If I ask them to write an assignment on an essay on like global warming, now they can easily get down to the Google and collect some information and send it to me. So, but there are some advantages, and there are still some disadvantages as well. But I think we can cope up with the situation. There are the situation the problems we even faced was the late submission of assignment. There was a question of validity and reliability of the test. And sometime in some subject, we had one-way communication. The children, they just listen and they get back. And definitely, apart from meeting the students day to day, very emotionally, learning might not be as fun as it was thought as well. Okay, so we kept all these things into consideration, and still there were some lapses about it. Definitely, on the other part, we have unstable internet bandwidth was less, very low. We had problems with electricity, and the thing. Another thing is that the Zoom timing. When we have got the basic version, definitely we have some problems. If I have to talk about the accessible, how many percentage of the students were present? Definitely, I'm very proud to say that about 90 to 95% of students are present till that. Today too, we are having classes and they're present. So I mentioned earlier that those who feel a need that they have no data, they do not have some enough fund to buy data and some other stuff, we're ready to help them. We have already announced these to the parent, to the children. So I think that didn't become a hindrance for them. So how was the class made possible then? Definitely the involvement of the parents, staff, students, all these things helped us to make the class run very smoothly. So what are the lessons that we learned from the pandemic? Definitely, digitalization is a must. This is how now we have inculcated in our mind. We have integrated this thing into our mind that digitalization is a must. Now we need to move on. So we must have some trainings in digital pedagogy, because now we have one pedagogy right now. We practice through one portal. Definitely there might be another portal. So I think if we make teachers digitally aware, digitally literate, on the more the situation like they are right now, this will definitely help. And we do not think that we didn't think very well in the face-to-face classes, but now we have realized that well-being of the teachers and the students are equally very, very important. That is what we have learned from the pandemic. Definitely, we definitely have to find the better ways to test the students' reliability, authenticity, parental resources. Now is we are so much conscious about the role of parents, and as I mentioned earlier, that this has promoted the independent learning of the students. Thank you so much, Uzalji.
Thank you so much, Narad sir. So before I request our session chair to sum up the session, so I would like to entertain some of the questions that has been asked by the audience to our respective presenters, right? So because of the time constraints, I don't think we can ask more than one question to each presenter. So let me start from Mr. Narad Rizal, who presented in the end. So there is one question in combined from Ms. Vidya Neupane and Ajay Yadav. So what they ask to you is, do you think Kathmandu University High School will continue some of its e-learning practices, even if the school will reopen and pandemic gets over? If yes, what kind of practices would you like to give opportunity, and what are the reasons behind this?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. Actually, in between the first pandemic and shortly after that, we had started our schools for, I think, 1 or 2 months, around a month. And we already had decided in our senior management team that we continue the portal, Google Classroom portal, where at the weekend, we assign students to work on some issues, on some project. And when they get back to this, before that, they submit through it. So that is how we are planning to go hand in hand with the online portal and face-to-face mode of teaching. But even more than that, we already have planned to buy, smart. We do have right now, but we wanted to increase the numbers that to fix the smart televisions in almost all the classrooms, so that students get benefited with because we already have prepared so many things, teaching, learning materials, and we wanted to practice even in the days ahead as well. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Narad sir, for your answer, which exactly resembles with the idea that Christian Ashley gave this morning, right? We also need to equip infrastructure, and we also need to think something beyond COVID pandemic as well. Okay, so now the next question is to Ms. Apeksha Shah. And the question is, students not being able to turn their cameras is really a challenge. So what is the approach being used right now to ensure their active participation in the class and interaction? So this has been the problem, in fact, most of us are facing. So we are really interested to listen to your remarks in this regard.
Yeah, actually, you cannot make them turn on the cameras. You can request few of them. So first problem is that if everybody opens their videos, we do not have enough bandwidth, and it will really slow down the class. So that's one first problem. And the second thing is, I think during the pandemic, I think this is what a realization is, that not everybody has a room, like a lone room for them to open up a video and sit for a class. It's very difficult. Students are sharing their rooms with their friends, they have children around, and it's just difficult for everybody to just turn on the video. So all you can do is just ask them kindly that if you guys can, so turn on your video. So a few of my students used to, that was sweet of them. So at least you feel like you're talking to somebody, because like all the black screen sometimes can be, it can really affect you, like if anybody's listening. But then I think that's what the thing is, like this is one of the cons of online classes. You cannot make everybody turn on their video, and we can just request them to. But I think it's a good thing. You can have rules, like for instance for presentations, you can say that okay, everybody will have to turn on their video and present, because that ways they can take out a selective time, they can tell their friends not to come or keep their kids away, so they can do that. But then I think that's about it. Sure, thank you so much, Ujjwalji.
Thank you, Apeksha ji, for your very good answer. Okay, now the last question being asked to Mr. Pitambar Bhandari, who was the first presenter of the session. So the question is, we obviously need the data of the actual estimated number of disadvantages to design the policies for distance learning. But we do not even know how many of our schools lack electricity, computers, etc. So is data collection regarding accessibility is a big challenge right now? So how can this challenge be addressed? And how long will the process of data collection take during this very situation?
Thank you, sir. So this data collection, I don't think it's a major challenge for us because we have a huge experience that even the national census is also carried out and supported, facilitated by various schools. And we have that schools directly linked with the district level and those to provincial level and those to the central level now. So this data collection is not a huge task for us. One thing is that, and the next thing is about the accessibility. It is also closely linked to the accessibility and also the quality-based assessment for these two things. So accessibility is, as discussed earlier in this morning session, also inaugural session also, it's not only about providing the equipments, but also making those equipments and the students, those students acclimatized to use those and then motivated to use those equipments and make more habitual to on that. And the next thing is about the assessment. So without having a closed monitored surveillance, we cannot control, we cannot go through the quality control this time. We must have a strong surveillance mechanism while the students are sitting in their examinations, maybe through CCTVs online or footages that we should provide by the local education institutions later on. Everything we can do, because we are assuming that we don't have this. If we are already clear about that we don't have this, and then why cannot we manage this? So this is clear. And the last thing, sorry, sir, Ujjwal sir. So now there was one question I think in the message box by Dr. Nishan Pandey regarding the reduction of fees and the any data package by the ENCL or Nepal Telecom here. So earlier Nepal Telecom, after being approached by various universities and other education institutions, they brought one data package called the e-Shiksha, as that is the learning package. Shiksha in Nepali, it's education learning package. They brought that, and then we could have around 6 GB for 200 rupees, Nepali rupees, and 15 GB for 500 rupees. But those were very much limited because we must, we must have to expenditure, or let's say use those data packages in the specified interval of time. That means whenever there would be the class, then only we could utilize those data. But what about other research? What about other internet surfing and other access to other online or the digital portals? We don't have that access again. And regarding the reduction of fees, I don't think any of the institutions in under Tribhuvan University, we don't have that policy of fee reduction till now.
Okay, thank you, Pitambar sir. And there is the, regarding our fourth presenter, to Mr. Sunil Gharti, so I don't find there is a question, but there is one compliment. One person has dropped there. So Sunil sir, you have been doing quite well in order to address the pandemic, in order to address the issues that pandemic has raised. So you people have been doing excellent job in order to involve the students in learning process, also by encouraging them and participating them in learning practices. So great going, all the best. So this is the message that I just want to share with Mr. Sunil Gharti, and hopefully he also has received this message in his message box. So with lots of thanks to all the presenters, now I request our session chair, Dr. Badride Pandey, who is having some sort of problem with his video, but I think he can speak. So Dr. Badride Pandey, please, you can acknowledge all the presenters and also say something in regard to what they presented, and also try to sum up the things for this session. Please, Dr. Badride.
Thank you. Thank you, Ujjwal sir. And we had 4 very important presentations. And all of the presentations pointed out to some problems of online learning. And that's very true. I'm having that problem myself, not being able to turn on my camera. But many from the presentations, we learned that learning has resulted. We have improved over time, and it is not a long time. In about a year, a lot of learning has taken place. And there are some positive aspects as well, such as I was impressed from what Ms. Apeksha Saha said about a student in Humla being able to learn online. And we have this problem often. We hear children have to walk hours, 3 hours or 4 hours to get to their schools and return, spend the same amount of time. So in this sense, online learning has some advantage. It saves time. I remember teaching at National College. Some of the students used to be late coming to college, and sometimes they would not even be allowed to get in. So with online learning, they would not have to worry about getting late and running to the college and not getting there on time. So these are some of the advantages. But as we heard during the inauguration session, that online learning is not substitute. It is only complementary to what learning in the sphere of learning. Therefore, we can only hope that in near future, we'll have face-to-face classes resumed again, and students will be able to see their teachers, and teachers can see their students, and evaluation, as Mr. Bandari pointed out, has been so difficult, will be resolved. But this is not our choice. This is nobody's choice. This is by force. Education sector has been forced to look at alternative. What is the alternative? One is just do nothing. And time is so important for everybody to lose years after years. So even to learn partially, even if not all are able to learn, many are able to learn. If they are not able to learn everything, they are able to learn something. And one observation I have made is parents are more by force, by choice, or compulsion, they are forced to pay more attention to the education of their children. And this is very positive, because without their guidance, especially in lower class, children cannot learn effectively. Parents realize that, and they are spending more time for their children. So we have many lessons to learn, and in the next 2-3 months, at least, online class will continue for at least several months. And by that time, we'll have learned a lot more. So I'm just hoping that once the normal situation is resumed and face-to-face classrooms are resumed, the lessons learned from this online or remote learning will be very valuable for many years to come. This will give tool for planners and policymakers to address alternative situation, to address the remoteness, to address the geographical difficulties and all that. So it's great that even at this time of pandemic, lockdown, this seminar conference is organized, and we are at least able to interact with each other, share our experiences, and go therefrom. I think I have used the time that Ujjwal sir gave me. I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me this very unique opportunity, and I'd like to thank everyone on my behalf for their effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Badri sir, for your remarks, and also acknowledging all the presenters. In fact, all the presenters' presentation were excellent, and we had very inclusive kind of session it was. So starting from the primary school, kindergarten level to higher education is what we tried to accommodate. And all the presenters, I mean, understanding their responsibilities, did presentation quite well. So we are really thankful to Mr. Pitambar Bhandari sir, representing Central Department of Peace and Conflict Studies and Development Studies from Tribhuvan University, Ms. Apeksha Shah, representing International Relations and Cooperation, and Mr. Narad Rizal, representing Kathmandu University High School, and Mr. Sunil Kumar Gharti, representing Kavya School, Kathmandu. So with lots of thanks to all of you, and also special thanks goes to all the audiences who put very nice and logical question to make this session quite lively, and all the participants. So far the participation has been 70+, so which is very important part of any kind of conference. This also clearly reflects that how vibrant and how lively discussions we are having, and what is the quality of the presenters and presentations that our presenters have been making. So with lots of thanks to all of you, now I'm going to play a video, and I really want to thank Pratibha Pant for helping me to develop this video, and which will basically show how online classes and online learnings are being happened in National College in past 15 months. We had organized physical seminar exactly a couple of weeks before the lockdown. That's why we have incorporated those two pictures as well, where you will be able to see people assembling inside the hall. But after that, everything got changed. All the seminars, all the talk programs started happening online the way our presenters explained just a few minutes before during the time of their presentation. So this will be a couple of minutes video, and then we can enjoy our much needed break, right? All of us have been participating in this session for past 3 hours continuously. And after that, we will reassemble in this conference again, which will start at 2 p.m. Nepal time, which is equivalent to 4:10 in Singapore, and 4:10 p.m. in Singapore, also 4:10 p.m. in Hong Kong, and 10:10 a.m. in Germany, and 2:15 p.m. in Bangladesh. That's why we will assemble again here. And before that, let me share the video of the online activities that took place in National College for past 15 months. And also many thanks to Badri sir for chairing the session and all the participants as well. Thank you very much.
Ujjwal sir.
Yes.
Sir, your screen is frozen, so the video is not being played.
Okay. Let me share my screen again. I'm so sorry for that. So can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Has my screen not been shared? Okay.
Not yet, sir. I mean, we can see your screen, but then it does not move. It's like frozen.
How about now?
No, sir. Okay. It isn't?
Okay, Pratibha, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So can you play this video?
Sure, sir. But then my internet is not that strong. I'll try.
Okay. Then I'll do it by myself. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So is my screen shared now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Unable to.
Again, video is pause.
So your screen is being shared. Yes, sir. Sir.
Yes.
Sir, okay, so we can't see the video.
Okay.
So I think I'll try sharing video once. Can you give me the access?
Okay, Pratibha, can you play it? Okay, thank you.
Prativa, you can share it. I mean, it's not, you can like click it and share it. It's not a problem. I mean, you're not open.
Hey, so the video is not being shared right now.
No, you have not opened it. Yeah. Just open the folder and then maybe it would open.
The
Just
folder,
try.
oh my God, the folder was open and I was watching the video all the time. Okay, wait, let me try.
It's like, I guess you're sharing the wrong part of the screen. The screen that you are sharing to us is just the folder. So you can just click. Sorry,
It's like, I
everyone, for the
think we are not
technical
able to share the video player because they
Yeah,
don't show
maybe
that
we can
option
do
too.
it later in the second session where maybe I could share the screen in the second session. Yeah, Ujjwal sir, we could do it.
Pratibha.
Don't worry.
Yes, sir.
Pratibha, leave it. I'll try again. I'll try again.
Okay, sir.
So is my screen shared now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
There are many tabs, sir. So I think you have to.
Yeah, now it's like moving, but you can like focus on the specific.
Again, video pause.
Not working.
Yeah.
जी भाई ना यो जी Ujjwalji,
Hazur sir.
After the break, I think we can do it.
Leave it, like we can do it after the break. Don't worry.
Okay,
we can do it after the break, right? No worries. A little bit of technical difficulties, everyone.
Okay, thank you everyone. So we are really sorry for not being able to play this video effectively. So hopefully we will play this video again after this break. So let's enjoy the break for exactly a couple of hours so that we will be back exactly after 2 hours from now. So till then, have a good time. And I request everyone to please be energetic and enthusiastic even in our next session. So let's try to make this event a very successful and lively as we have been doing so far. Thank you so much. Thank you.